What is your top issue that you feel is facing our community? And we have a place for you to give additional comments on that. So be thinking about what you think your top priority for the city is, because again,
my side of the street is actually connected to the businesses. We've lived in our house for 25 years. It was what we've been told is the first house on our street.
With next week already having a lot of subjects to be talking about, you're going to lack the time as it is. I believe this is something we should be talking about today.
Okay.
There are a lot of questions that myself have about that, so that is something.
All right. Thank you so much for that. So are there any other citizens? Because if not, then
so you can't see it at the very top, but at the last town hall was working. There we go. We also talked about the home rule charter. A home rule charter committee was developed. There were 29 measures on that ballot.
Please come forward so we can put you on the microphone, please.
We're
live streaming so that everybody, not only here but at home, can hear you. Yes, we can talk with. Thank you. Okay, very good. Anything else? Okay, let's go back to the Mentimeter, make sure we've got everybody set up on the Mentimeter, because we've got 5 minutes before. We'd like to try to start the presentation right on the time that it says on our agenda, and I'm going to ask David Edwards to come up so that he can introduce the upcoming large capital improvement project. Yes.
If anyone doesn't have a cell phone and would like to respond to the Mentimeter, we do have some laptops set over here to the side where we can let you make your responses.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't know that. Okay. I'll let you.
Okay. Morning, everyone. Thanks for coming out in the brisk weather. The next topic that we're getting into is capital improvements. It's a big issue for the city, and we want to get feedback from everyone on your preferences. So I'm going to ask for some assistance from Ms. Moritz in explaining the options and the situation. So, Ms. Moritz.
Okay, so we have approximately 5 minutes before we start the next item to go over capital facilities. So you're more than welcome if you have any questions or concerns you want to bring up. We can entertain those for the next 5 minutes.
Or you can look to the left over here and look at those wards, because I think it'll be easier to see them up close than it will be on the screen. For this presentation, the Menti code is up here on the screen.
It's the same one though, right? Yes, 953212.
Let's start with the branding question.
Okay, it's 9:28. We've got 2 more minutes, and we'll start. You sure can.
For those of you watching online, if you can go to mentimeter.com and enter a code, the code is 953212, and you'll be able to participate with the survey questions as they come up. Thank you.
It will. If they go to Mentimeter, it'll say we'll do a completely different setup for presentation.
Sorry, it's menti.com, menti.com. And the code is 953212. Thank you.
Everybody connected? Anybody need help on the Mentimeter? Just raise your hand, because we've got lots of experts in the room. Or on the. You need some help?
It's not working.
Okay. Mr. Milan, if you could help, thank you. Appreciate that.
It'll take a little bit, but then it'll start refreshing.
Is everybody getting the same message? Please wait for the presenter to go to the next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we're waiting.
Please wait. Yeah, we're going to start here. 9:30. All right. Let's welcome Melinda Moritz, our Public Works Director. Yay, Melinda.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming. We appreciate your attendance at this meeting.
I will do your thing, Floyd. I know what you're doing. But the way I did it is I'm taking money from something that's forward.
And so our purpose today is to discuss capital improvements for 4 of our city facilities and consider some other new park facilities in order to comply with the ADA Act, with energy efficiency, modernization, and to increase our recreational opportunities. And so we're talking about the Leon Valley Community Pool, the Forest Oaks Community Pool Facility, the Library Annex, a Public Works facility, and some new improvements to other parks. At our Leon Valley Pool facility, we went in with an ADA expert and found that there were several areas of this facility that do not meet the requirements of our ADA Act, and we are required to conform at some point in our future. The building, concrete deck areas, and parking lot are outdated and they're not ADA compliant. The building and pool are costing more and more each year in maintenance and utilities. The pool needs replastering, and it needs replastering now. The estimated cost to remodel what's there is between $150,000 and $180,000, and the pool replastering would be about $82,000. So you're looking at a total of $262,000 to bring this existing facility just into compliance. There's some pictures of it. I don't think they're going to come out very well at this venue. So we have alternatives. You could demolish the structure and the pool and then reconfigure the entire site. And we would include with that the vacant lot at the corner of Peachtree and Poss. For the cost estimates, the pool area, demolition, new pool, buildings, etc. would be about $2.5 million. To add a splash pad would be about $750,000. Reconfigure the parking lot would be $255,000. And then you have engineering and additional services, $595,850. So your total would be $4,100,850. And then this is what it would look like. And because this is on this screen, we went ahead and put these poster boards up so y'all can walk around and look at those and really see the detail on the site. At our Forest Oaks facility, the facility itself and the concrete deck areas are not ADA compliant and need to be brought into compliance. The facility itself is made of CMU block walls with brick veneer, and so it's not easy to even try to bring it into compliance. It also has old wiring and plumbing. It uses too much energy, it's outdated, and the pool needs replastering. Almost the entire patio area is out of compliance. It's built to drain water and it has too much slope. The estimated cost to remodel what's there right now is from $900,000 to $1 million. The estimate to demolish and construct a new prefab building, correct the patio areas, and replaster the pool is about $482,000. So it makes more sense to demolish what's there and put in a new prefab building. And here's pictures of that pool facility. The alternative for this pool facility is to demolish the structure and the baby pool, add the new prefab building, correct the concrete deck areas, replaster the pool, add a small splash pad where the baby pool is now, repair the parking area, replace the back wood fence with a concrete fence, and then add some really cool shade covers. And so here are your costs for that, and the total would come to $761,787. And these are estimates only. And here's what that would look like. For the library annex, the only part of that building that's in compliance is the ramp that leads up to the back door. That's it. And if you drive by it, it's ugly too. The building is at the intersection of Poss and Evers, and the parking creates a traffic hazard. The books have to be hauled over there from this library by the trustees and the volunteers. All of the areas of the interior are old, non-compliant, and a fire danger, and they're ugly. The estimated cost to construct a new prefab building on a new site, which is this one right behind us here with the little air conditioning units sticking out of the side, would be about $250,000 to $260,000. And what makes that cool is that they would just have to go from this library to right over there to haul books. They would have plenty of parking everywhere around here. It's not as dangerous, and it clears up the congestion at that corner. And we don't really want to look at that building. And so here's the cost for that. Demolish the old record storage building, remove that annex from the old site, and just clear the site. Your total on that is about $258,150. And this is what a prefabricated building could look like. Public Works. We are pretty much ADA compliant except for some areas of the building, restrooms, front door, maintenance and mechanic areas. The building insulation is almost non-existent in most of the walls. There's not enough room for our equipment and our existing employees, and we need space to add future additional employees. We just inherited 36 acres of the Heaver Creek LC-17 project, and in the last 4 years we've added 3 parks, and we're fixing to add another park. And so we're going to have more employees in order to maintain all this stuff. The second floor storage area ceiling is too low and the flooring's deteriorated, and our HVAC system needs to be replaced. It's not easily accessible for visitors, vendors, or deliveries, and the exterior allows rodents, bugs, and birds free access. I like the mice, Yvonne does not. And this just shows our building. And one mouse actually crawled up on top of David's monitor. He was turning the other way. When he turned back around, he saw a mouse. So the cost for a new facility would be about $1.15 million. We would want to renovate the existing facility. We want to add a secured storage building. We want to add a dog or cat kennel, one that's enclosed so that the neighbors don't have to hear dogs howling. Parking, security, fire alarm, and then of course the architectural and engineering. So you're looking at about $2 million to completely revamp our public works site. And so we would keep the old building in the back and add a new building, and the new building would be right behind the community center so that you would have all this parking already in place. We wouldn't have to build a new parking lot, but you could come and visit us. Right now we don't get to visitors. And this is what it would look like. So some additional improvements, and these were added after the last couple of presentations we did on this because these had been planned, And some of these were already in our capital plan to fund. However, if you're going to decide to do a bond, you might as well throw in the whole package at one time and get it done, rather than letting it linger over the years. And so we want to replace both restrooms at Raymond Lucas Park. It's about $300,000. Everybody wants a dog park, and so that we think is going to be about $80,000. We still need to construct the Leon Valley Ranches Park at 6208 El Verde, and here's what the cost for that one. So the total for all this is $645,000. And this is what prefab restrooms at the park could look like. And this is a cool dog park. And this is the Leon Valley Ranches Park concept. This concept was actually developed by the residents on El Verde Road after several public meetings. And so this is what they've been waiting for. And the reason we have not started on that park yet is because we just became owners of that land this past January. And so now we're actually free to develop it. And so you're looking at repairing and replacing at the Leon Valley Community Pool would cost you about $262,000. If you did all the new alternatives, it would be $4.1 million. At the Forest Oaks Pool, repairing and replacing only is about $482,000. If you want to do everything new, it would be $761,000. The Library Annex, just flat out new, $258,000. Public Works with the new facility and rehab our old facility is about $2 million. So if you wanted to just do the repair, replace, and the two new structures, then it would be about $3 million. If you want to do all the new alternatives, plus the parks and dog park, then you're looking at $7,120,000. And so here's your fiscal impact about this stuff. And what we have to say about it is, if a decision is made to move forward, we would suggest rounding up to either $4 million or $8 million, whichever alternative you choose, so that we can make sure we have contingency money for technology and security and any unforeseen circumstances. And so if you're looking at borrowing money, if you did the $4 million at a 20-year term, you're looking at an interest cost of about 2.7. The projected annual debt service would be $263,160. The tax rate impact would be 0.0172, which is going to increase your tax rate for your home that's valued at $100,000 by about $1.43. If you did the same amount of money for 25 years, your projected monthly tax rate is going to be about $1.15. Now, if you went whole hog and decided to do everything at one time and borrowed the $8 million, the 20-year impact would be $3.63 on your monthly tax rate. The 25 years would be $3.07. And Vicki Wallace is here because I know y'all are going to have a bunch of questions about the financing, and so she'd be happy to answer those questions for you. Somebody's holding their tongue on.
So is Vicki coming up? Thank you. Vicki Wallace, our finance director.
So, are there any questions? Yes, sir.
If you'll please come to the front so we can record it online. Yes, that's our only other mic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Melinda, for the presentation. I remember last town hall, we all decided that we would select a commission to definitely get these estimated numbers to be more specific, that you might be able to save some of that money and bring costs down in talking to engineers and everyone we needed to talk to get this project done. And I think this shows that if you do the least, for the least, you're going to end up paying the most later, and now we're seeing that. But my question is if we went with the $8 million for the 20 years versus the 25, and I'm thinking like, from Dave Ramsey, you basically do the smaller term Is there any way we can basically save, and I put that in quotes, in any way possible, save and pay more down and get rid of it sooner? Or are we fixed to that as a city versus, like, you know, what normal people have to deal with a mortgage or a loan of sorts?
So to answer your question, it's not like a mortgage. You cannot pay it down until once the debt is issued. If we have a call option, yes, we can call it in and pay it earlier. Other than that, no, we cannot. And usually a call option is, we were fortunate when we issued for the municipal complex, we got an 8-year, which was very unusual. But usually they're at 10, 15 years where you have that call option, almost to the end. And so when you do the refunding, which they are going to do on some existing debt, basically you don't extend the life, what you originally issued it for, you just refund it, and you basically say, okay, well, we're just getting a better interest rate. But at that time, if we had the amount of cash, that whatever the balance was, yes, we could pay it off then. Other than that, no, sir, we cannot pay it off early.
Thank you. And so, and that, and I just, that assumption of do everything now so that way we have a better community, a prettier community, you know, for the 8 million. But thank you for that question, because I was considering that.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, whenever the debt is issued, we'll know then. Generally, it used to be a call option cost you extra to do it, because people that actually buy these, they basically want to have a lock-in of what they're going to be getting. So it costs generally to have that call option in there. When we issued for the municipal complex, it did not. So it just depends on when you issue the debt, what the market is, and what's going to happen then.
No further questions. Yes, we got plenty of time. Kim Crawford, thank you.
Kim Crawford, Four Stokes. I have a question. There was a lot of stuff and there was a lot of niceties, which are great. But is there any point where we can look item by item, maybe cut down to some of the little niceties? You know, because it may not, I mean, that was like the full bore, we do everything. So are you going to try to get the funding first and then we talk about what to cut out?
So I can,
You're actually going to have questions at the end of this presentation that lets you pick and choose your options, which one you would like. And then, of course, we have an item on a couple of, I think it's the first meeting in April, to actually form a committee for this.
Actually, it's on Tuesday's meeting.
Tuesday.
Yeah, right. I had a question. Did the pool committee assess the needs for our community, that we needed 2 pools, or can we get by with 1 pool? Because I saw that might be a way of cutting down on cost if they recommended 1 pool rather than 2. That's all.
No, they did not make that kind of a recommendation.
I have a question.
Kathy Hill, 6326 Mary Jameson. Do we have, I guess we have already budgeted elsewhere, the money for the hike and bike trail? That's the connection from Shadow Mist to Bandera.
The hike and bike trail is going to be performed with a grant from the MPO, and the city will pay 20% of the construction cost. So that is not included in this figure here.
What about finishing the park at Shadow Ridge? No, I'm not sorry, not Shadow Ridge, at the Ridge Leon Valley.
Those improvements are being included in our next capital plan, which we're developing now. Anybody else have any questions?
Good morning, Vinny Martinez. One of the things that I support is the full package. We need to develop both pools. We have to look forward into the future. If we want our community to be vibrant, and we're really the center of San Antonio, if you really think about it, we want to attract the younger families looking for a place to live. And if we had pools that are attractive to younger people, that's a benefit to our community. Anything we can do, and we have to start thinking for the future and thinking of different ways we can help to better our community. And attract the people that we'd like to have join us. Thank you.
Yes, Drew. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for that presentation. Drew Power, Forest Oaks. Question is, building on what Benny just said, look into the future. Have we looked into the lifespan of prefabs versus brick and mortar?
Yes, the prefabs, the only difference between them is that they're not built on site. Anybody else?
I just wanted to add that there is a park that, a joint venture between the city of San Antonio and the city of Leon Valley at the end of Shadow Mist that was brought up. And so the city of Leon Valley has committed to 2 elements of that park on our side of our 3 acres, and it's the skate bowl and it's the pervious parking lot. So you're saying that that's not included in this, but it's included in another capital plan.
Correct.
Just FYI. Thank you.
If I remember correctly, I thought that the last meeting, it was decided that one pool was going to stay, one pool was going to, we were only going to have one pool. Is that right? That's what I remember from the last meeting. Does anybody else remember that? First, I want to say that I am really excited for the dog park, and I think that the pools are beautiful. Also, I understand that if Leon Valley residents are needing any kind of assistance, support, or any kind of help, it is the responsibility of their county to help. I know that this past COVID season, when there was a lot of families that did have some difficulties with job loss, things like that. It is my understanding that the residents had to call Bear County. I do know that Leon Valley did receive some support for that. There were some services. However, with the budget from $4 to $8 million, how much is that going to go for the Leon Valley residents who are experiencing some type of hardship?
Okay.
From the budget, how much of that is that, or actually let me ask, how many resources are available for Leon Valley residents for that in the budget? Can I get an answer?
Yes. Will you speak into the microphone
Yes.
so that everybody can
And what
hear?
was your
That's
name?
why.
What was your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
My name is
Jackie. Okay.
Jackie Macias.
Jackie Macias. Okay, thank you.
And so
Go ahead.
this budgetary numbers here doesn't have anything to do with COVID or what happened last year. This is for future improvements to our park system and to our public works and library. And so I'll let the mayor touch on the CARES Act that we just had.
Yeah, well, we got money from the Bear County. It was $632,000. We didn't get to spend it all, but that was just a one-time grant from the county, and so we applied it. And we bought a lot of things, but we don't have any future CARES money on the table yet. It might come down, but we don't have anything yet. Also, if we were to go with a bond or a COO, it would affect all property owners. Is that correct? This
Yes.
raise, it wouldn't, yeah, irregardless. But if you're a homeowner, you own a home, that it's going to affect everybody, that increase.
It was just in general.
Oh, excuse me. And you know what? I think we're going to, as soon as you finish, Jackie, then we're going to ask Mr. Hefner to help us go through the poll. He was saying that he thought that a lot of these questions would be answered through the poll questions. Thank you.
So
We have a couple of slides left.
the
Yes,
question,
ma'am.
I apologize, let me clarify. So it's more of a, in general, type of funding services from Leon Valley. Not related to COVID, also emergency disaster planning. That's not related to, well, specifically emergency disaster planning. So not necessarily COVID resources, but just in general. I know in the past,
You know, Jackie, excuse me, we could save that for a citizens to be heard question, because this is really on this topic, which is the future needs of our city as far as these
I
projects.
do have one question.
So that's what I'd like to keep the conversation on this topic if we could, but we do value your question. Thank you.
What are you guys gonna do with the public works building that's not gonna be, that you guys are not gonna use anymore?
We actually are going to use it. It's to be remodeled, and it will be used to put in a sign shop, machine shop, welding area, and woodworking area. And then there will be 2 extra bays to put more equipment in, because we're out of room or storage right now for the heavy equipment, and it needs to be covered. So it will be reused. Everything on that site will be in use.
Melinda, you said you had a couple of more slides to finish up, and then we'll ask Councilor Heffernan to come up with the questions. Thank you.
Okay, and so this slide just shows you the 2 ways that we can actually pay for this. One of them is general obligation bonds, or GO bonds, and those require a bond election. So this would actually be on a ballot and the citizens would vote for it. Those are issued for any public purpose, not to exceed 40 years. It can include real property, personal property, a legal judgment, or land acquisition, and it's secured by the issuer's full faith, credit, and ad valorem taxing power. These types of bonds attract lower interest rates. The other way you could go is to go out for a certificate of obligation. These do not require voter authorization. They can be voted on by the city council. A petition signed by 5% of the eligible voters can force this to go to an election. Notice of intent to issue is required. We have to publish this in the local paper on the same day of 2 consecutive weeks. The first notice must be published at least 45 days prior to the sale date. They sell at interest rates similar to GO bonds, just not as low. And that is all I have, and so we will go into the poll.
I just wanted to add that when we did this in 2012, we had the 2012 bond for the police and fire and the new fire station, police and administration building. We did a bond. So just want to let everybody know that.
And we've actually done it 2 ways. We did the bond for the municipal facilities, and then we did the certificate of obligation for the wells. So we've done both.
All right, so for those of you who are participating via the Menti poll, and if you don't have a cell phone, we do have a couple of laptops over here where you can also participate. So at this point, you should see a slide that says, are we ready to have the conversation around capital projects? Does everyone see that slide? Or let me ask this first question. Was everyone able to enter your name and address, email, phone number, and have the option to select if you want to participate in any committees or volunteer in any committees? Is everyone able to get that? Was everyone able to get the slide that said, what's your top issue? Because we have a lot of things on the agenda. Okay, let's back up and hit that one real quick. So we wanted to do a pulse check of the community. And so that slide should be active now. Yeah, so you should see a pop-up that says go to slide at the top of the presentation. So yeah, so go ahead. That's a free text field. We've got a lot of things on the agenda today, but we also want to hear from the citizens, both that are here present and those online, so that we can understand what your issues are, what your most important concerns are with our city, and that will help inform the things that this council takes on in the coming days and months. So we'll give just a quick minute for folks to fill that out, and then we'll move on to the next question. And as you're filling that out, I'll just also share. So there's one field at the top that asks what's your issue, a stance on it, and then there's a bottom section there for additional comments. So if you wanted to add in additional issues, then you could add that as well. Also, for those who are online, or maybe you're watching this later from a recorded version, we will have this poll also available after today's town hall for, I believe, 2 or 3 days. So if you need to go back and enter your information, it'll only allow you to enter it once. So if you're participating now, it won't let you go back and enter again. But we want to make that option available to those who maybe aren't able to attend today. So I'm going to just look around the audience here, and when I start kind of getting some head nods that everybody's done with that slide, we can move on to the next one. Good? All right, I'm seeing a majority of thumbs up here, so I'm going to go ahead and move on So this one is just a yes. This is more of a section break. So you can just answer yes to this question. And then I'll go ahead and move on to the first question in our capital improvements. So this question is asking you to rank in order of importance all of the 7 proposed projects we have today. If you want to rank just one project, you can rank just one project. If you want to rank all 7, you can rank all 7. What you'll see is you'll see a drop down, and that'll have the list of all 7. You'll select one, then you'll see an additional drop down pop up that has the remaining 6. And so the idea is put your most important first, then your next most important, then your next most important. And then the way that this system is going to work is it's actually going to take everyone's votes. It's going to use something called ranked choice voting that allows us to prioritize these projects according to what the citizens want. And we'll take that in combination with some of the other questions that we'll get here shortly in order to prioritize items. And those of you that can see the screen, this is actually updating in real time, so you can see what the responses are. And those of you who are watching online should hopefully also be able to see that. Mr. Bull?
Are we allowed to see that on our phones?
I don't think so. I think that if you go in your browser to Mentimeter.com and enter it, I think you might be able to see a more a full, robust view. But I believe also at the end, the very end of today's presentation, we have our last poll question. I believe there is a button that says "Send me the results," and you have a place to enter your email address there as well, so that after we pull the poll down, we can email out the results to all those who would like to see the results. So I'm just looking around the room. Am I getting some head nods? Has everybody completed the ranking to their liking? All right, I'm seeing a majority of folks nodding their heads. So we're going to the next question. And again, if you miss a question, you can come back to answer any questions you haven't answered yet. Are you not done yet? Or okay, good to go?
Yeah. Can you read off what the
Oh yes, absolutely. So the rankings, I know it's difficult to see the screen, the current rankings, have the Public Works facility first, the Leon Valley Pool. We just had a flip. There's a tie actually, 3rd and 4th between the Raymond Rimkus restrooms and our dog park. Then the Forest Oaks Pool, the Library Annex, and the Leon Valley Ranches park. And so those are going to continue to update in real time. If you come back and answer this question later on, you can wait. Yeah. Yes. So this is everyone right now. All right, so I'm seeing a majority of folks done, so we'll move on to the next question. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to get a yes or no, thumbs up, thumbs down on each individual project. So in the past, we've talked about, lots of things at one time. Some of the feedback that we received as a council was there wasn't always a clear yes or no for individual elements. So we want to ask your opinion to get a yes or no for each option. All new facilities, repair and replace facilities, the costs are next to those elements in your selections, or if you don't want us to proceed at all. And then what we'll do is we'll use this in combination. We have a question for each one of the 7 projects. We'll use this in combination with the rankings to decide what our capital needs are to issue either a bond or a certificate of obligation. Oh, sorry. Moved forward a little too fast. All right, just again, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down. If we're ready to go, ready to move on to the next one.
You did say that if anybody's not here, they can access this later?
Yeah, so after this meeting is done today, we'll set this poll. Right now it's on presenter pace, so it's only going as I advance the slide. After the presentations are done and people can come back and watch Ms. Moritz's slides, her presentation, the other presentations of the day, we'll set that poll to audience pace and we'll leave it live for the next couple of days. And so folks that are watching online or maybe can't make it here today will be able to respond. And so you can use that Menti code 953212 and it will take you from start to finish on the poll for any questions that you might have missed. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question. This is, are you in favor of moving forward with Forest Oaks pool renovation? This is different from the Leon Valley pool renovation. So I'm just going to watch the audience and you guys start giving me a thumbs up when you're done. All right, thank you. All right. I think I see a majority of folks done. The next question is the Library Annex. All right, starting to get some. Okay. All right. So we're hearing that the live stream is about 10 or 15 seconds delayed. So once I start seeing thumbs up, thumbs down, I'll wait just a few more seconds to let those online get their answers in. Yeah, you guys can give me a thumbs up for YouTube, right? All right. Starting to see the majority of folks nodding their heads. Good to go? I'll give it just a few more seconds. All right, moving on to the next one. Are you in favor of moving forward with the public works renovations projects? Seeing some head nods. Good to go? Good to go? All right. We'll move on to the next question. Are you having trouble, Ms. Martinez? You good? All right, we'll move on to the next question. Are you in favor of moving forward with the Raymond Rimkus restroom renovation? It's a lot of R's. Raymond Rimkus restroom. Yep. Thumbs up. Good to go. Thank you guys for working through this with us. It's a new thing for us. We're trying out this year, and pretty happy with how we're. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can cycle back as we finish. Do that. Are you in favor of moving forward with the Raymond Rimkus Dog Park? Good to go? Thumbs up, thumbs down? All right. By and large, Mr. Bradshaw, all of them so far have been in favor, predominantly. All right, the next one is, are you in favor of moving forward with construction of a new Leon Valley Ranches Park at 6280 El Verde? All right. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Good to move on. All right. That one was a little bit closer than some of the others have been. All right, so this last question is, about the fiscal impact. We want to get from the citizens, how would you like to see these options funded? There are three options here, either a certificate of obligation, a bond issuance, or no preference. And just as people are voting, just to clarify the difference there, a bond issuance would require an election, which would be this November, would be the earliest we'd be able to do that. A COO would allow us to move forward more quickly, but there's also an option to push that to an election if we went that way. So, interest rates are similar. Any other? All right, thumbs up, thumbs down. Good to go. Oh, and sorry, Mr. Bradshaw, it's about dead even on that with a few no preference. All right, so the next section is Google Fiber. So that's all the poll questions we have right now for the capital projects. I think we may have more, I don't know if we have more discussion, or we're gonna move on to Google. 11 o'clock? Yeah. Okay. Oh yeah, thank you. So I'm gonna go back to the top of the presentation, just to make sure everybody here has had an option to enter, and then we'll discuss the results as well and can have some discussion around that. So I've moved back to the slide on demographics. So if anybody didn't get an opportunity to populate that one, you should get a pop-up at the top of your screen that says go to slide. You can click there. If you've already answered it, it will tell you you've already answered it. So I just want to make sure we're able to gather all that information and make sure that we're hearing from the residents. Is everybody good on that? Okay. All right. So the second one was a question around committees and the emergency contact system that Leon Valley has set up for things like our recent winter weather and other emergency situations. If you want to sign up for that, that's where your mobile number you can enter and notify us, and we'll get you added to that system, as well as committee options. Everybody good on answering that question? Yep. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
On the committee, was that actually signing up, or was that just expressing interest?
Expressing interest. What we're going to do is we're going to take, if you're interested in a committee, if you're willing to volunteer, right, we'll follow up with an application and follow those processes depending on the committee. Right, some of those committees require an interview. Some of those committees are volunteer advisory committees. One of the committees that's on that list is a capital projects oversight committee, which is going to relate directly to the other questions that we've been talking about as well. So if you're interested in being involved in kind of steering the direction of those committees or those projects, then we'd certainly love to have you express that interest. All right, we did this community pulse check. So that was the one we did at the beginning here. So we'll move into capital improvements and just kind of overview what the results of the polls are. Yeah, you've already answered the question. Yeah. There's a big star on the screen if you've already answered the question. All right, so the question around ranking the proposed capital projects, this was the results that we had. Public Works Facility was first. The Raymond Rimkus Restrooms was second. Leon Valley Pool was third. The Dog Park was fourth. Forest Oaks Pool was fifth. The Library Annex was sixth. And the Leon Valley Ranches Park was seventh. In favor of moving forward with Leon Valley Community Pool renovations, it was 22 to 17. It doesn't look like there's any no's. I'm trying to see that in this slide. Are you in favor of moving forward with Forest Oaks Pool renovations? 23 in favor, 12 no. Or I'm sorry, 23 in favor of new facilities, 12 in favor of repair and replace. I think that was the same on, yes, I'm sorry. 22 in favor of the Leon Valley Pool with all new facilities, 17 repair and replace, and none for no. So it sounds like, by and large, the pulse is we do want to update our city facilities. Forest Oaks 23 and 12. For the Library Annex, 31 said yes, move forward with that project. 6 said no, don't. In favor of moving forward with Public Works was 35. 3 said don't. In favor of moving forward with Raymond Rumpus restrooms, 37 and 3. In favor of moving forward with the dog park, 29 and 8. In favor of moving forward with the Ranches Park was 22 and 15. Some of them was a little bit more evenly split. And looks like 20 said bond issuance, 16 said COO, and 3 said no preference. So also about equally split. So any questions on those results? I think on the question was on the bond, what was the split? 20, so there's actually still people answering questions, which is great, and we'll tally these final results afterwards, but where we're at right now with the audience here and the audience online, 20 said bond issuance, 17 said COO, and 3 said no preference. So we'll publish those results at the very end of today's presentation. We have a few more questions on some of the other topics. At the very end, we'll have a pop-up that's at it'll say thank you for participating in today's poll, and there'll be a link just underneath that says email me the results. And you can enter your email address there, and then after we've gathered all the results from the people who aren't able to be here today as well, validated that folks are Leon Valley residents and their answers are correct, or that their answers are valid survey responses, then we'll send out the survey results to those who want to see them. And I'm sure we'll also have a discussion of these at a future town hall meeting as well. So any other discussion, questions?
I wanted to thank Councilor Hefner. He's actually the one that owns this Mentimeter app and was able to incorporate it into our town hall meeting polls today. So thank you, Councilor Hefner, for doing that. He uses it all the time in his work. We've got 45 minutes till 11 o'clock, which is Google, and they're going to be coming on virtually. So before I forget, I did not introduce our city librarian. Regina, would you wave your hand? And thank you, because I think you came late, but I do appreciate you being here. Thank you. So, where's Crystal? What's the pleasure for? I mean, this is the thing we were trying to set the time as best we could. So anyway, but we have 45 minutes, and we do know that the next presenters will not be on until right about 11. So yeah, there you go. If you want to go look at the boards, take a restroom break. Yeah.
Melinda and Vicki are still here.
Yeah, Melinda and Vicki are still here, so thank you. So we're going to kind of stay adjourned until a little bit before 11. Thank you.
I should ask her to bring me up a
Is Kathy Hill still here? We thought maybe we were just kind of brainstorming up here and saying, well, why don't we just go ahead and, since Kathy's here, and she's got some polling questions as well, we could just go ahead and start with you, if you don't mind. Would that be all right? Yes, take a break and then come on back. 5-minute break and then come on back, and we'll hear from Kathy Hill, president of the Leon Valley Historical Society. Thank you. That was a great idea. Thank you.
But I mean, the property is owned by the city.
Yeah. So I was thinking, it would be really good for site clearance. We were thinking that right there. And so if we just demolish the building, we have a site landscape that people love this they sit there all the time. So maybe we make that a little sitting area. That's
up to y'all, but I don't want anybody parking there. That's the problem. It just gets so congested that we're not able to fit.
No, it's because I'm like normally comes now. I'm like, it's a pretty little piece of property. Oh, it's very functional.
That's fine.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so then when the sales were done and the contractor left, we donated that building to the city. And the owner
Which back then was a normal problem.
Look at all the water they still have. I guess people still need water.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
I was looking at the
Right, yeah.
they're really pretty.
These are just conceptual drawings.
Hi, John.
How are you doing? Yeah, I was talking to those people on the fruits. I thought.
The first, it's like, when I first went in there, I was like, well, let me tell you.
Know about, right?
Right. You know, the people and the people and every people.
If you make a list.
When I first went to Chica Boutique, and I talked to her, you know, Chica's Boutique. It's near Peter Piper Pizza.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
No wonder I haven't been in there.
I was like, let me check this place out.
Right.
So I got to know Candace. How's it going? I don't think she could. She just gave one complaint. You know, kind of minor, like.
Yeah, let's get this bread.
Well, then I went in this shop a couple of days ago. Oh, let me tell you what. Churros put up there, and then that guy.
Can you hear me? I can hear you guys.
Oh yeah. I know, yeah, they.
If you tell me, if you stop me, I never do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Or they give a letter, like, you have 10 days to change this. Well, 2 days later, yeah, they got it.
yeah, but not only when I go.
I know, you're fine.
Sorry, I was
to the side. You're good.
Doing great, John. Whoa, don't be blaming John. Just turned 30. Oh, yeah.
So you get hit, second one, lay on your chest. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've been in there before.
Yeah, we had to drive.
Hey, how's it going, Jed? I was like, oh, no, I did that twice now. Nope. No, you're fine. I'm listening. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, whether we do a 20 or a 25. Yeah, no. I mean, you know, like, right, but right, we have 11,000 city. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we always do. Well, thank you.
Oh, that's great. I got my first shot of. You are not going to miss it, you know, and that was good. And it's fine
Well, they had a few packages.
Oh, okay.
I know, I'm leave a message and I'll call you back. I figured there'd be at least maybe 30 people here. You live so far. I know. Leave the thing. I know where you live. You're almost right behind me. Yeah, y'all. I'm on Ruth Healthy.
Yeah. Like,
oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, so there is some actually. There's a but I've
That's what Eric has said. The park of the natural area, the play in that.
We used to play roller coaster at American Ice. Had bought as a retreat. And
it's fun.
I mean, I heard one from when he was
Is this the camera you're speaking from?
Yes. And then I moved another one up there.
Oh, you did move one. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So
That's what people were asking. I can't see the slides as one. So when we go over the slides, maybe you can switch the view. Oh, perfect.
Right now it's showing the slides right now. And then if I want to, I can just click here to show
Oh, that's
you
good.
guys speaking. So.
I was gonna say because people are like, I'm just hearing birds and all this stuff. I'm like, I can get my BB gun out. I mean, I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah, because all the audio should be coming in through that one.
Yeah, I don't know if we move that any closer or not. I mean,
I don't know.
It's like 3 or 4 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Whatever I can do. I'm gonna see if it can. As long as nobody trips over it. Probably about there.
Yeah, you gave me your card. Oh, okay, good.
I mean, yeah, maybe see what it looks like.
There we go.
That's pretty good.
Be better.
Cool, thanks, man.
Hey, Will. You get my card.
Oh, cool. I saw your little card up over at the place too.
Oh, okay, my horse. Yeah, I gave a Valentine out, and then and now I have these gift cards. Monday is this wife.
Oh, cool. I'm not married, but I'll give it to my mother.
Okay, International Women's Day.
Oh, awesome. Cool.
Whatever.
Right. No, right. Make sure you make that clarification.
No. Not like that.
Well, so what's funny is, I mean, I expected you
Oh, yeah, the one in the west.
Where is he? He's over there in the blue. In the blue.
The shirt, the white, and the white mask.
Oh, Tina's calling. Hello, Tina.
I'll be back in a few minutes. So.
That's all right.
Test, test. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's on. Thank you. All right, can we all kind of gather back around on our seats, please? And we're going to go ahead and squeeze in. Test, test. There we go. Okay. We're going to go ahead and hear from Kathy Hill, who's the president of the Leon Valley Historical Society. Can I ask everyone to come on back? Mr. Martinez, Councilor Hefner, can I ask you all to come back so we can show respect to Kathy Hill and the Historical Society, so we can listen to what she has. David, you were going to introduce Miss Hill, so. Did you advance it?
Well, this is fine, but when I want to advance it.
Okay, we'll get somebody for you. Hang on just a second. There you go.
Hi, everybody. We're now to the point in the meeting where we're going to hear from Ms. Hill, the president of Leon Valley Historical Society, concerning some important issues with the society. So everybody, please give your attention to Ms. Hill. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. How are you? I'm going to take my mask off now. And yes, the Leon Valley Historical Society is here, although the last year COVID has been very difficult for us, as it has been for most people. And so we've been pretty quiet. But we are here to talk to you today because we are very much interested in getting volunteers. We're really needing to kind of spread the word throughout the community about an effort to get more volunteers involved with our organization. We want to tell you about the kinds of work that you might be able to do with us. And we're also looking to improve our membership numbers, which helps us with grants as we move forward. So let me give you just a little bit of information about us. The mission of the Leon Valley Historical Society, we are a volunteer nonprofit organization, and we are dedicated to promoting awareness and appreciation for the history, natural history, and culture of the Leon Valley area and its contribution to the history of Southwest Texas. Our immediate objective is the preservation and restoration and development of the Huebner Onion Homestead and Stagecoach Complex on Bandera Road and its interpretation in Texas history. And if you've driven past it on Bandera Road, you'll know it. It's the two-story stone building with the cedar two-story front porch right next to In-Town Suites and kind of across the street from the City Hall. Some background on us: we were incorporated in 1973 as part of the Leon Valley Pageant Association. In those days, the Pageant Association used to have an event called Stagecoach Days, which actually we had a big parade, shut down Bandera Road. We go right down Bandera Road with our big parade. And you know, that has long since gone, but we like doing events at the Homestead. We participated in Bexar County and San Antonio's Tricentennial a few years back and had a big ice cream social at the Homestead. We do fundraising activities, dinners there, and for the last, I guess, 5 or 6 years, we've also put on a big 5K race that's always part of the city's 4th of July activities. For nearly 40 years, we've promoted and celebrated and compiled our history. From 2005 until 2015, we developed this 36-acre Huebner Onion natural area that's adjacent to Raymond Rimkus Park. We were the custodians of that natural area for those years, and we put in the walking trails, and we worked on preserving and restoring the Joseph Huebner gravesite. We did that project more recently in conjunction with the City of Leon Valley and the Park Commission. And when you get a chance to go online, I've dropped in a lot of pictures into the presentation that you can't see right now, but do take a chance to revisit our presentation online and you'll get a chance to see all the pictures and the work that we've done. Like this one. So our volunteer opportunities. We are still actively researching genealogy and history of local families. We're looking to expand our knowledge and information base. And so if you have an interest in history and genealogy, we want to find out more and document more about the early families. We've got lots of land records that go back to, you know, the Spanish land grants days. We want to know about Mexican landowners. We want to know about the European settlers. We want to know about African Americans that were here, and we're interested in the history of Native American peoples that were here as well. So if you have an interest in this, we would love to work with you, and we can teach you about research, and it's just a great way to spend some time. We maintain our archives for the City of Leon Valley over at the library, and so when the library is back open, we can do more work there, but until then we can do work virtually. We also want to research and document the business and civic community in Leon Valley. We keep track of things like obituaries and who's been serving on city council and who our mayors were. We have some information about early businesses in Leon Valley, but we'd like to have a lot more. So if you're interested in how the business community here has grown, how we've gone from being dairy farming and ranching to, you know, an urban business community, then that would be a really nice story to be able to help us tell and to document and record for future citizens. We also are interested in developing an online curriculum for families, for children, and for school teachers. If we've learned anything over the last year, people get pretty bored when they're stuck at home and don't have a lot of places to go. And given that, you know, so many of our places have been closed to us, having online curriculum is certainly important. We'd like to be able to support school teachers with history lessons about pioneer life. And so if you're interested in that kind of storytelling for young people, you don't have to have a knowledge of technology, but we have some folks, we would like to have people who we could pair, you know, folks together. We could have someone doing research and maybe someone helping to make this compatible for sharing online. We also are interested in sharing more of our news and stories online on social media. So if that's your thing, we'd love to work with you on that. And we organize quite a few fundraisers during the year, and then there's also just general maintenance and upkeep at the homestead. So, you know, if you're handy with tools and you want to do that kind of work, we would very much welcome your time and your help to us. And then the other areas where you could help us is, you know, we like to do public programs. We used to do quarterly meetings at the library where we bring in a speaker to talk about something related to either history or natural history, the environment, and we want to be able to kind of get that going again, but do it online. And we could use help from people who want to help us identify good speakers and good organizations to present and help us get the word out about it so we can get more people participating with us. And then, you know, other ideas to kind of make history fun and relevant for young people and for families in the community. So, you know, how can we maybe tie into places that you might visit around Leon Valley and have, you know, the history of that place available to you, maybe using things like QR codes and, you know, and maybe just some interpretive signage, you know, around that kind of tells a little bit about the places. So an example is right here, this well that's right here, this brick well. This, this is a project that the Historical Society got involved with along with our former mayor. And thank you, Marcy Meffert, who was very interested in this project. So this well was the well that the school children used. The very first school in Leon Valley was founded by Christian Evers. So Evers Road, named after the Evers family, one of our original pioneering families. And when kids would come to school, they actually didn't have a well on the property, but one of the local ranchers let them go and draw water from it. And when I guess the county came in and was doing the widening of Huebner Road project, this well was going to be torn down. And so our mayor, Meffert, got together with Public Works Department here in Leon Valley and also some Boy Scouts, and they moved it brick by brick and restored it and placed it here, and we have this nice little plaque that kind of tells that story. And we have lots of little places around Leon Valley that are like that. And we want people to enjoy them and find out about them and know more about them. And we certainly could use your help in doing that. So if you are interested in becoming a member of the Historical Society, our membership ranges from $10 to $25 a year, depending on what category you want to join. And I wish you could see this picture, but it's what the Huebner Onion Homestead looked like when we got it. It was a derelict building. It had been burned out. It was falling down. It's been a lot of years and a lot of money raised in restoring it to where it is now, but membership dollars help us with that. We try to keep the rates down real low because we want to encourage more people to be able to join us. Being able to share these numbers when we write grant proposals is important in helping us to show that we have a connection with the community and that we have support of our community. So a couple of more pictures of what it used to look like, and you can help us in the restoration and the protection and the preserving and the sharing of our history. And we just would love to have you be a part of it with us. So the very last page of our presentation has a QR code. If you're interested, that'll take you directly to a volunteer sign-up form, and you can just fill out the information on it and indicate what you might potentially be interested in doing with us. And if you want to also just find out a little bit more about the Historical Society, there's a live link to our website there. And that's my presentation. Do I have any questions from anyone? No? Okay. All right.
Thank you. I thought we had some questions. Is that right, Mr. Hefner? Yes. I'll turn it over to you.
So if you want to go back on your Menti poll, it should refresh, and we have a few questions on there just in form format. So there'll be a couple of different drop downs to know, have you heard of Leon Valley Historical Society before today? Would you be interested in becoming a member? Would you be interested in volunteering? Those kinds of questions. So feel free to answer those. Those are live now.
Yeah, I think a lot of you here already know about us, but we're hoping that there's a number of people at home that are new to the community and don't know about us. And so we would appreciate, it'd be helpful to us. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to know, is it possible to go inside that building ever and clear it? Is it safe?
Yes.
So the question was, is it possible to go inside the building? Is it safe to go inside the Huebner Homestead?
Yes. It is possible to go inside the building, and we make public opportunities for people to be able to come in at no cost to do that. You can also arrange through our website for private tours of the homestead. We can get you into the front room of the house. One of our most recent fundraising projects was putting down a subfloor in the living room. We're still raising the money to do the subfloor in the dining room and the kitchen of the house, but you can still, you can peek in and you can get a good look at what it looks like. And then also there's other buildings on the property. So the old cookhouse that is actually behind the homestead, this was built in the 1850s, and it's where Joseph Huebner lived when he was establishing the homestead and while he was building the home that you see from Bandera Road, which was added onto over some years. And so, as he built it, it was originally a one-story building, and then later he added a second story, and then the two-story porch, and then the next owner, Judge Onion, added the eastern wing of the house. So when you visit it, we can tell you how that was all done. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so going forward the next year and a half, what is the goal of the Historical Society to, what projects are they hoping to complete or start, and what is y'all's funding avenues that y'all hoping to expand on?
Sorry, just to speak into the question for those that are online or watching. The question, Mr. Wool, was over the next year and a half, what projects, what goals is the Historical Society setting?
Right. So there's a couple of things. One is that we're looking for funding to complete the subfloors on the first floor so we can get people throughout the first floor of the house. The second thing is we're looking for some smaller grants to do interpretive signage at the homestead property and at the barn and at the cookhouse. There's also Pigeonniere is the very old building, kind of derelict looking building that is actually on city parkland next to the homestead. But we've been getting some estimates to actually restore that and rebuild that. So those are some things that we're looking to do just in terms of funding. The other projects that we want to do is we want to digitize our entire archives. Not being able to access the archives over the last year has really kind of driven home to us. It's a project that was started, and we have a good bit of information that's available through Bexar County's bibliothèque on the original homesteaders and some of the early business community, but there's a lot more information that has not been digitized, and that actually is a project that I would like to see done over the next year, is to digitize everything in the archive so that it can be completely and totally accessible by online audiences and teachers and people doing family history and that. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Has there been any thought or discussion about bringing back Pioneer Days?
The question is there been any thought or discussion about bringing back Pioneer Days? We would love to do it, and it's more a matter of having the volunteers to put it on. With our small group, we had done a fundraising dinner at the Huebner Homestead in April. We did a 5K race in July, and then we did an annual gala here at the community center in the fall. And then we did the 4 quarterly meetings at the library. So to add on doing like a Pioneer Days, we just need more volunteers to help us do it. We would love to. That if you were here for the event at the Tricentennial, it was really fun. It was a whole day of activities. We had a stagecoach from Wells Fargo. We had ice cream being handed out to kids and families. We had We had historical groups come in. We had like a lady making pottery. We had some women doing quilting. I think we had blacksmithing. It's a lot of fun, and it's a real way to showcase what we have. And it takes volunteers. We need people's help. So that's our primary goal for being here today, is to get volunteers and members.
We also did tours of the natural area so that you could see the grave site of Joseph Huebner.
That's true. Yes, thank you. Yes, sir.
A few years ago, there was a push to have a public-private joint activity to do something with the house itself, turn it into a museum. Is there any status of that, or is that kind of on hold right now?
So Mr. Edwards is asking about the public-private partnership. And so what we have in place with the City of Leon Valley is a Memorandum of Understanding that is related to how we work with the city, and in particular as we move to try to develop the Triangle Park next to the Homestead. It's all part of the master plan that is on our website, and I do encourage you to go and take a look at that. It's the very first page of our website. Scroll down a little bit and there's a link to the master plan. But that includes restoring the Pigeoneer, and then if we can do like a building that would be like a classroom, an event space, open air. That's kind of what we were looking at for that. Does that answer your question? Yes. The plans ultimately for the Homestead is to turn the house and the complex into a history and heritage center that would have regular operating hours where people can come and visit, and where people can learn about the early pioneering stories. There are historical homes, kind of around in Bexar County in Texas, but to have a home that still has the barn and still has the original homesteading building, that's what's unusual about us. The other thing that's interesting about the Huebner Onion Homestead is that it was occupied almost continually from when it was built until the 1980s. So it was there during, all of our history. And so, we want to be able to tell the stories of the development of the community. We want to be able to tell what was life like during World War I around here? What was life like during World War II around here? What about, the turn of the century? What about immediately after the Civil War? Were there slave owners around here? Like what is our story? And that's what we want to be able to tell through the restoration and opening of the homestead.
Fantastic, thank you. Many of us see this as an economic development generator. It'll attract people to our community, and that's what we've always been striving for.
We hope so. We're working on it as a tourism, developing tourism, encouraging tourism.
All right. Any other questions? We do have Google Fiber on the line now, so thank you so much, Kathy. Really appreciate the update, and please volunteer. It's a great project. Thank you.
We have some brochures here at this table, so feel free to pick one up. And thank you very much for your attention today.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Really appreciate it. All right, so this is going to be, we're moving into a different segue of our town hall meeting, because the next couple of presentations, Google Fiber and Bandera Road will be online, so it's virtually. So I don't know how this is going to work, but we do we have Daniel Lucio online for Google Fiber, and do we have questions, Mr. Hefner, on Google Fiber for the Mentimeter? We will. Okay, so without further ado, Mr. Daniel Lucio from Google Fiber. Is he on? Okay, thank you.
If there are questions, and if you want to get people to watch, sure. You've got to
Test, test.
Can anyone at the city hear us okay? We're just doing a mic check.
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you. We can hear you loud and clear, Daniel. Welcome.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Lucio. I work with Google Fiber. I'm a community impact manager. I'm actually going to hand it over to my colleague, John Michael Cortez, who manages our government and community affairs in the area. He's going to walk us through a little bit right now.
All right, folks, one more time. Can you hear me? Are y'all able to hear me, folks? Okay, great.
Yes, we can hear you.
One other question. Are you able to see the slide that I have up that says Google Fiber in Leon Valley?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. It works. Well, thank you, Daniel, and thank you to the folks in Leon Valley for inviting us to participate today. As Daniel mentioned, my name is John Michael Cortez. I'm the Government and Community Affairs Manager for Google Fiber in Central Texas. Daniel and I work together, and I will be your main community point of contact from here on out. So again, thank you for the invitation to be here with you today. I'm advised we should specifically thank all the folks in the city of Leon Valley, Mayor Riley, Councilmember Stevens, and Ms. Caldera for all your leadership and partnership to get us to this point where we are very excited to soon be able to provide Google Fiber service to the residents of Leon Valley. I'm joined again by my colleague Daniel, who can help me answer any questions that come up that I'm not able to answer. So thank him for being here. Move to the next slide. Hopefully you can all see that. So what Google Fiber is all about is providing as many people everywhere as we can with access to fast, reliable, fairly priced, and open internet service. We started serving customers in the San Antonio area, our first customer in November 2017, and since then have been building and growing our network so that more folks can have access to it. We're still doing that work every day, and we're very excited that in the very near future we will arrive in the city of Leon Valley. We believe we'll be able to provide service before the end of this calendar year, 2021. We're not able to give you a specific time when your neighborhood may have service or your particular street may have service, because we still have some final details to work out with the good folks at the city so that we can get started. But when we do arrive, we'll be very excited to provide Gigabit service, which we're providing to some of your neighbors in San Antonio for the fair price, we think, of $70 a month plus tax, with no hidden fees, no annual contracts, and again, very fast, very reliable. So what is Gigabit service? Just as a comparison, our Gigabit service is about 6 times faster to download and about 77 times faster to upload data from the internet than the regular or average cable service hookup. So what does that mean to most people? And I think it's especially important during this time. I've recognized over the last year, as I'm fortunate to have access to the service, working at home on video calls all day, my wife working at home on video calls all day, and my daughter attending virtual school. It really does make a difference to have access to this type of service. And as more and more things go online, like medical visits or people attending school at all levels online, having access to this measure of bandwidth is going to become increasingly important. And so that's what we're all about. And again, excited to be coming to Leon Valley. But as with any type of new infrastructure or service, it often is going to require some construction. And with construction, unfortunately, often comes some disruption. Now, our goal at Google Fiber is to the extent that we can minimize disruption to your neighborhood, to your streets, and that's what we're going to try to do in Leon Valley. So we have several ways of constructing our network at our disposal. The first and kind of the old school traditional method is the use of what is called directional boring, where we bore underground and get the fiber in there. Those of you who are able to see the screen, that's represented by the picture at the top there. And we'll largely be operating within the public right-of-way, but sometimes that public right-of-way for some households is your front yard. And this method is pretty messy, it's pretty disruptive, and quite frankly, we would rather not use it. And so we try to minimize the use of this method and try to only do it when it's absolutely necessary. The second way that we get the network to your neighborhood, and actually our preferred way and our predominant way of construction, is called shallow trenching. And that's the second picture, the one on the bottom of your screen is an example. This is where we cut, again, a shallow trench in the area that's typically between the curb and the street. And so we cut that shallow trench, and then we lay our fiber in there and then refill the trench after we're done. And trenching at such a shallow depth not only allows us to move through the neighborhood with minimal disruption and much faster, but it also virtually eliminates conflicts with other underground infrastructure like the water system or gas lines, which if we were to strike one of those would also be very disruptive, of course. So we really prefer to use shallow trenching. We'll be using that as much as we possibly can in the city of Leon Valley. Sometimes, although it's not very common, we will attach fiber to existing aerial utility poles, but again, we prefer to do the shallow trenching. One other method of construction that we potentially may use in deploying the network to the city of Leon Valley is what we call softscape. And it's similar to the shallow trenching, just instead of in that area between the curb and the street, when it is necessary, we may use a similar method on non-paved areas. And so we dig a trench about a foot or more deep and then backfill it after putting the fiber in there with soil and sod, and really try to put everything back just as we found it. And we get through there pretty quick. On occasion, we may have a conflict with some irrigation lines. We do our best to avoid those, but it does potentially happen that we will strike one of those. But we're able to get those fixed typically in the same day and get everything restored just like we found it in the same day. So this is another method that we may be using in the city of Leon Valley. And we'll be working closely with the city to figure out which methods are going to work best for us, work best for the city, and work best for the neighborhoods as we go through and do our construction. Now, again, because we have those details to work out, we're not precisely sure when we'll be getting to your particular neighborhood this year or your particular street, but rest assured, we will be notifying you in advance. What we do in advance of construction on a particular street is we will have crews that go around and place door hangers on all of the households ahead of construction. And then a couple of days before we're ready to start work on a particular street, we will put up no parking signs. If we're doing shallow trenching right along the edge of the street, of course, we would need for private vehicles to be removed. So we'll give folks a couple of days notice, and hopefully they'll get those vehicles moved if they're parked out on the street. Now, on the rare occasion when our crews show up and they're ready to start that trenching work in the street, if they happen to find a vehicle parked there, we will do our best to try to locate the owner, maybe come knock on the door and ask the vehicle to be moved. And that typically takes care of the issue. But in the rare instance when we're not able to identify the owner, then at our expense, we will have the vehicle moved to a place nearby. And again, at our expense, when the construction work is finished, and again, it's pretty quick, we would put the vehicle back where we found it. Now, we've been doing this type of work in our markets for several years now. And again, we're pretty good at it. We've learned a lot. We are able to get in and out with minimal disruption, which is our goal. But none of us are perfect, and occasionally there will be issues that arise, or you may have questions or concerns. So on the screen here, if you're able to see it, is a construction hotline. If you have questions or concerns as we're nearing construction, you can call that number, 877-454-6959. We'll have people there to talk to you 24/7. And so that number is a resource for you. This number will also be printed on the door hangers that we will be putting out on neighbors' doors in advance of the construction, so you'll have it there too. I know that was a lot, but we wanted to get through it quickly so that we can try to answer any questions that you may have. You can also go online at fiber.google.com. There's a lot more information there. If you're interested, once we do arrive with service in your neighborhood, in signing up to get an update so that you can be notified when you're able to sign up for the service, you can also go to that website and we will notify you when we're ready to turn fast, reliable internet service on in your home. And with that, I'll turn it back over if there's any questions.
Awesome, thank you. And so we also do have additional questions on the Menti poll for those of you who want to respond to those. I want to thank the Google Fiber representatives. Is there anyone here that has a question that would like to ask it while we have them on the line? Yeah, Miss
Mayor, whatever. I think I already asked this question, Daniel, to y'all before, but what is the average cost of your service?
I'll take that one. For the 1 gigabit service, we have a price of $70 plus tax per month, and that's all in one price. And that also comes with the equipment necessary for you to have whole home Wi-Fi. So it's all included in that $70 per plus tax price, with no hidden fees included in that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, so the question here, Ms. Kim, is that data service unlimited, or is there a certain data limit that you would hit that would have to incur an additional charge?
You know, our philosophy is that we want to provide very fast, reliable internet service, and we want you to use it and use it a lot. We don't have caps on data. We don't limit that. We want you to use it all as much as you can. So, you know, Daniel may have something to add to that, but no caps, no data caps and limits. You have your gigabit service.
You might have mentioned it, but how long does this shallow trenching process take?
Great. We have another question from a citizen. You may have mentioned, but the question is how long, and can you talk about the process of the shallow trenching? Like if you come to my neighborhood on my street on a given day, how long would I expect to be disrupted with the shallow trenching process?
Well, like any type of construction, you know, it kind of depends. You know, we have all sorts of factors that may influence it. You know, potential issues with infrastructure, although again, using the shallow trenching, we minimize those conflicts. Weather's always a factor, things of that nature, but it generally moves pretty quick. I know that we've been able to get up and down some streets here in my community in less than a day. You know, in some cases it may take a little longer, but we're not talking generally about weeks or months. We're talking days, and hopefully just one day. Daniel has a lot more experience on the construction side than I do. So Dan, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that from your experience.
I think that's right. You know, the one thing I would add to that is because our primary construction method is in the street, it can oftentimes depend on whether we're able to move cars along that street on one side of the street or another. So we'll put up no parking signs, and sometimes there'll be cars there. We'll do our best to get a hold of the folks whose cars it may be to ask them to move it. But that can be sometimes the limiting factor of getting down a street. So if you're in your house and you see us starting construction down that street, you'll see signs for a couple of days, and then the actual construction won't take more than a day or two typically.
And we really do like using that shallow trenching because it minimizes the conflict and how inconvenient it is.
All right, great. We have 2 more questions. We'll go here first and then right back here.
Chad, ask him how is it going to affect our business community, and will it have the same service at the same price?
That's a great question. So Councilman Roscoe asked the question, how will this infrastructure impact our business community, and will they have the same opportunities for service and things like that?
Daniel can probably fill in more on this, but we do have a small business product. And as we get into the community, yes, if there are small businesses, and businesses generally will have access to the product as well.
Yeah, that's right. We do have a small business plan, both at the 250 meg level and the gigabit level. I believe the 250 is at $100 and the gigabit is at $250, and it comes with basically business support service. So it's a little bit higher tiered service for those business folks.
Great, thank you. There's another question back here.
You keep talking about the shallow input. There are a number of streets that are not paved in Leon Valley. When something is dug into and the fiber's cut, how long is it to take effect to get it back?
That's a great question. So,
would it be better to do it deeper than just a shallow thing? Doesn't
sure.
sound very, very secure to me.
So I think the question, correct me if I'm wrong here, the question is specifically, there are a number of streets within Leon Valley that are not paved. In those particular streets, there is a concern of how secure a fiber line would be if it were shallow trenched versus a more traditional boring method. Do you take a different approach in a situation where a road is not paved in the construction method? And then finally, if the line were cut at some point in the future, what is your process for restoration, and what's the time frame for a typical restoration?
I think I heard, we had a little bit of wind noise there, but I think I heard the question. It was, you have streets there in Leon Valley that are unpaved, and how secure is it if we were to do the trenching in the unpaved roads? And was that the question? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, that's the question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Wait 1 second. That's. Okay, that's a great. So I'm assuming Alverde Grass Hill, Monte Robles, Linkwood. Yep. Okay. So there's a number of neighborhoods.
I can't really hear anything over that wind.
All right, I'm sorry. Can you hear this better?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was, there are a number of neighborhoods that are paved, but they don't necessarily have sidewalks. And so there's no curb. And so when you mentioned the shallow trenching, you talked about doing it between the curb and the road.
Okay.
Is that the question? Yes. Okay, I'm getting a nod. Yes.
I think I get it now. And actually, I'm going to ask my colleague Daniel and maybe John Boring, who's joined us, who oversees our technical operations here and all of our construction activities here in Central Texas. So, guys, do you have any thoughts on that? What happens when you're working on a street that doesn't have curb? How do you typically shallow trench those, or what's the approach there?
Looks like John's on mute. I'll start this off, but I do want to hand it on to John. And just to reiterate, John Guain heads up kind of the construction kind of things on our side. So we've got a couple of options that we can use on non-paved streets. That's anything from softscape, which John Michael talked about, to aerial. These are options that allow us to go down a street or cross a street under those special type of circumstances. And John, do you have anything to add to that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. We get different construction methods, and we find this situation in several locations, several places when we're doing micro trenching, when the roads have no curves, and depends on the condition. We do an evaluation of the conditions. Yeah, and we have an offset from the edge of the curve that allows to place it either on the road cover that with a flowable fill that is going to produce and is going to secure the conduits and the cables that are going to be placed on the road. But we also have methods like softscape, as Daniel mentioned, where we place it on the boulevard. We place it not on the asphalt portion of the right of way. And we can also use the more conventional methods if we notice that that is more secure for the fiber lines to be there by either shallow directional drilling or the conditions are that our design stipulates. So we follow the design, we always do what we call the engineering write-out. We send our teams to go in and look at the conditions, and then we adjust our designs in order to protect the network and to make sure that we build properly. And we submit that to the city on our permit submission when they also have the chance to review and provide that feedback to us.
Thank you, John.
That's great. And then I think the last aspect of that question was, if there were a service interruption due to a cut line, what's the time frame typically? I mean, I know that there's a lot of different factors, but what's the time frame typically for that service to be restored?
We got a team that is dedicated, team and contractors that are dedicated to restore the network whether it is a cable on an outage, yeah? And we monitor the system consistently, yeah? So we receive notification when that happen. We typically are able to restore the network, depends on the conditions, typically between 1 to 4 hours. But according to the type of damage that can happen, it can take longer than that, but we don't see, because it's shallow, we can get access to it faster, and we're able to restore that also faster because it's easier to recut and replace that at that same depth. So we've seen that what we call the mean time to repair the network has improved with the shallow nature to be able to access it faster. But yes, it happened, we're seeing it, but we're seeing also that the restoration times improve from the more conventional methods.
Great, thank you. Did that answer your question, ma'am? Okay, great. Was there another question? Yes. Rock, paper, scissors? Go ahead, Kim.
I just wonder, when you're laying the cable and they're trenching across our driveway, are we going to be blocked in our house for the whole day or part of the day?
Great question.
I know we'll get a preview of that.
Yeah.
That would be good to know.
Yeah, great question. So Kim asked if you're coming down a street and you're trenching and you crossing a driveway, is someone who's at home potentially going to be blocked in their driveway for the entire day while you're trenching there, or what ways do you mitigate that for residents and in the construction the day that they're being disrupted?
Typically, we're in and out of a street within the same day, right? And it's 2 hours because the nature of shallow trenching, as we cut, we're very, very fast getting in and out. So when you go to work in the morning and then you come back in the afternoon, we're out and it's completed and you'll notice that we were there. We put the no parking signs and we put the notification saying that we're going to be in that area. But typically we don't block a driveway more than 10, 15 minutes. And if the crews are there, they allow the residents to go in and out, yeah? Because the trench is very narrow, so it's not gonna cause any effect. We just have traffic control at that time that is going to be allowing that for the residents.
Yeah, I think the bottom line here is that you'll have access to your driveway going in and out, and our crews should should be flexible in being able to allow that, and that's what we've seen thus far.
Great, thank you. Yes, Ms. Martinez.
When they decide to do their trenching, do they let the customers know where they're going to do the trenching? In the yard or in that area between the...
Great question. Great question. Yeah, so the question from Ms. Martinez is, when you're putting out those notifications to residents, you're saying we're going to come down your street, are you notifying them and letting them know what method you're going to use, whether you're going to be micro-trenching in the street, whether you're going to need to access their yard if you're trenching in that portion of the right-of-way? how is that information communicated?
We had different ways that we communicate. So the first one is we place a 7-day notification. Before we go into an area, we place a board that it says that we're going to be doing work in that specific area, that specific neighborhood, and some of the streets. That's typically what we do. So we let all the residents know 7 days in advance. Coming close to when the crews are going to be on the roads, 48 hours to 72 hours, they place door hangers, and they place also the no parking signs. That's the closest. Before they start, they give that notification. The door hangers that we have some more details of what construction is going to happen in that area. Now, if we do need to access front yards or right-of-ways, typically our crews knock on residents' doors in order to let them know if we need to do that. Typically, we're working on the street, and it has less impact with this method to be in people's front yards. But that's normally the process that we follow to let residents know that we're going to be in those actions.
Great. So I think the follow-on to that is, once you see that 7-day notice, you see that 72 or 48-hour notice, maybe expect if somebody comes to knock on your door, and you don't know who that might be. If you see those notices in advance, hopefully you're knowing, okay, that maybe that's somebody with Google Fiber that's doing some construction that might need to touch your yard. Great. Any other questions? One back. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, that's a great question. So the question is this in our proposed budget? And I think one clarification on this that's really important to highlight is this is Google, right? We all know Google. They're coming in to do a private investment in our community. They're investing their money. This is at their cost to provide improved infrastructure for our citizens. So to my knowledge, there's no cost to the city. Right, and actually that's a great point. As part of the agreement with Google, the city actually does receive a franchise fee, a portion of their gross revenues for use of our right-of-way, 3% of gross revenues, yeah, Josh.
Hey, Daniel or John Michael, this is Josh. So a common question that I've gotten is and I'll just tell you the concern, and I know I've talked about this with you guys, but residents are concerned that they might have large boxes placed in front of their houses or in their front yards. So I don't know if you can speak to that. And then also, I don't know if you want to talk about the difference in traditional boring versus micro trenching in terms of how many feet per day your teams are able to complete.
Yeah, John Michael, I can take your first stab at this, and if you want to jump in. Okay. So we're not going to have what you might think of as traditional telecom cabinets in most places. We may have boxes or what we call vaults that are flush with the ground that you'll see, every couple blocks that are essentially network exchange boxes. And like I said, those will be flush with the ground. We will at some location in Leon Valley need to place a hut, and this is a very small building that allows us essentially to service the area. And we're working with the city to figure out what that looks like and where it's at. But that's really kind of the largest piece of infrastructure you're going to see from us. And so, yeah, I just kind of wanted to, if John Guayin, I don't know if you're able to expand on the telecom cabinet question or the hut, but you can certainly, we could certainly expand on the details about the difference between micro trenching and boring as well. I don't know if John's there. If not, I can expand on it as I know.
That's fine. I think
okay.
We have the questions. So we have about 2 minutes left for this topic today. Do we have any other questions from the audience? All right, we really wanted to thank you guys for coming and sharing this information with our community. I, for one, am very excited. I work from home and I'm on the computer all day, and I know that my current service provider isn't meeting my needs. So there are some questions on the Menti. If you've not done those are available now. And you can answer some questions related to your internet service, related to what your needs are, and that will better help us to, as a city, to work with Google and address the needs of our citizens as we build out this critical infrastructure. So thank you guys for joining, and we look forward to the next year of working with you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Okay, the next topic is the Home Rule Charter, and all but, let's see, 29 measures were placed on the November ballot, all but 2 of the measures passed. So based on information we've obtained from legal counsel, we cannot really do anything about the Home Rule Charter until 2022, and there's been some inquiries from the community about could we just vote to eliminate it, or so that we're told we really can't do that. So in essence, I think that's we just want to share that because there's been a lot of interest in this topic. So we might be able to maybe study it or yeah, somebody wanted an update on it, so that's essentially all we can say. And any questions or comments about that, we'd like to hold to citizens to be heard, but just wanted to share that with you. And the council may determine that there might be a need to study it further in the interim. So that's kind of what I have to say. Thanks.
Our next topic will begin in about 3 minutes. It's the Bandera Road development update. And as many of you know, we started back in, actually in 2017 when the city wanted to develop an option to the elevated roadway that TxDOT had proposed. And so we went to UTSA, and many of you that were here at the January 2018 town hall meeting saw the presentation that gave the boulevard as an option to the elevated roadway. And from that, in April of 18, we came together, the City of Leon Valley, with TxDOT and the City of San Antonio, and we formed a Bandera Road working group. And it has been meeting since April of 18. Unfortunately, this year, this past year, because of COVID, it just got to, I mean, we didn't meet in person anymore. We met virtually. It was just much more difficult. But although we did move the ball a little bit, but I didn't want to miss the opportunity to update our citizens because y'all have been so active and so engrossed in this project. So we're trying to find a preferred alternative, and we're trying to be open and transparent. And but we've had to do a lot of just groundwork, and so we're going to have two presentations today from the City of San Antonio on what they're doing, and from TxDOT. And in both of these, the next step is to get citizen input, because we've done a lot of the research, you know, traffic studies and origin and destination studies, and we've done a lot of work on just laying the foundation for Bandera Road, right away, moving utilities, I mean, you name it, they've looked at it. And so hopefully you'll hear from the City of San Antonio, the TxDOT, and then if we have time, Brandon Milan will just give you an update on what we've done. Again, we presented the idea of the boulevard, and we did an economic development study, but he'll summarize that as well. So, do we have the City of San Antonio online?
Yes, we do. Good morning, Mayor.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody.
Very good. Who's that? Is that Josh?
Yes, ma'am. That's me.
And okay, and I'm
Joshua,
seeing Jay too. Jay Loudon. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Happy to be here. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Not letting me. Let's see.
you should be good to go. Is that correct? Yes.
It's not letting me share my screen, Mayor. Jay, would you give it a shot?
Sure, yeah. Y'all could allow me to make me presenter here.
Okay.
Great. All right, how's that?
Fantastic. Thanks, Jay.
Well, thank you again, everybody. My name is Joshua Jaski. I'm a project manager with the City of San Antonio Planning Department. I'm also joined by Jay Loudon. He's the principal consultant on our project end. He's going to be speaking a little bit, but I'm going to give you a quick little rundown of our agenda of what we'll be talking about. So the first thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to give a brief overview of the City of San Antonio's Bandera Road Corridor Plan. We're going to go through a little bit of the progress to date, and as well as show some of the ideas that are under development. Again, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and TxDOT is on the call as well. Ms. Linda Vela, nice to see you. She'll follow us and speak about TxDOT's end of the project. Jay, would you please go to the scope slide? Thank you. So there are two plans, two coordinated parallel studies, the City of San Antonio's Bandera Road Corridor Plan and the TxDOT Bandera Road Feasibility Study, which again, Ms. Vela will speak a little bit more to. But the City of San Antonio is currently engaged in a corridor plan for Bandera Road. The study ranges on this map you can see just here, just a little bit north of 1604 to just a little bit south of Loop 410. It includes a quarter-mile boundary on each side. So that's really where we're collecting most of our data from. A corridor plan is a long-term planning project. It defines the relationship and interaction between the land and how it's used around the corridor and its relationship to the roadway itself, which again is a state highway. In addition to determining the transportation and mobility needs for the surrounding area, corridor planning is effective in aiding future coordinated land uses and can improve safety and access for all. The goal of a corridor plan is a really holistic approach to improving quality of life for residents who use it, as well as the economic and various markets that exist in the corridor. City of San Antonio has worked very closely with the Texas Department of Transportation, the City of Leon Valley, and other local and state leaders in the area, namely District 7 Councilwoman Ana Sandoval. We've also coordinated with other state leadership. So, you know, we've been working very closely with Bexar County as well as Texas legislative offices. The whole goal here is to establish a shared vision for the future of Bandera Road that's really community driven. And that's what's really defined this relationship between the City of San Antonio, Leon Valley, and TxDOT. We've all worked together to leverage resources and kind of stay on the same page and listen to the community and what you all are saying. So I will go ahead and kick it off to Jay on that. And he's going to talk about we're going to start off with a little bit of what we've heard so far. So without further ado, Mr. Jay Loudon, thank you.
Thanks, Josh. So we've had a number of public meetings and sessions with working groups to gather input about what people think about the future of the corridor. And that input has shaped what we're going to show you today. So what have we heard so far? First, we've heard strong support for mixed-use development. People are very interested in new projects which combine retail and housing and office and other types of space together. But people are concerned about new development, especially if it generates more traffic on Bandera Road, because traffic is really the biggest issue on the corridor for most people. We've looked deeply into ways to support transit and walking and biking, all of which can help to reduce traffic. And please remember TxDOT, you'll hear from Linda a little bit later on this. They're doing a separate study to look at possible changes to the roadway itself, including additional lanes, intersection improvements, and other ways to improve traffic flow, in addition to pedestrian and bicycle movement. The third thing we've heard is strong support for neighborhood connectivity. People feel like their neighborhoods is not as well connected to Bandera Road as they would like, and many would like more options for getting to and around the area. Finally, we have heard near universal concern about the way that the corridor looks. People would like to see more trees and plantings, less parking and paving, and more attention paid to the way that projects along the corridor are designed. So let's dive into how we have begun to shape the plan to respond to what we've heard. So we've heard from both residents as well as seen in our own studies that one of the issues to be addressed is how neighborhoods connect to the corridor, which is to say that right now they don't connect very well for the most part. So what you see on this slide are thoughts about how these connections should be done based on public input, and I'll describe the principles behind what you see here. First is that there should be protected paths connecting neighborhoods to Bandera Road along major intersecting streets. In this image, they're shown as multi-use paths, which are essentially wide sidewalks which are designed for both bicycles and pedestrians to ride and walk safely. So those paths would meet up with similar paths along Bandera Road itself. Second, where there are major intersecting streets that meet Bandera Road, there should be transit stops there. Placing transit stops at those intersecting streets and making sure that the sidewalk network connects to them is a critical part of ensuring that people who want to use public transit are able to do so. And that in turn helps to reduce traffic. Third, where possible, all multi-use paths should be planted and shaded. This can be difficult to achieve, and there's no doubt that it's a longer-term goal, but the benefits to walkers and bikers, improvements to the aesthetics of the corridor, and the corresponding improvements in quality of life for all of us are pretty clear in doing that. So adding that, as you can see in this image, neighborhoods in Bandera should both connect directly to green space. So on Bandera, that's Leon Creek, Opie Schnabel Park, 90 Falcone Park, and the Huebner Onion. So here's a better look at some of the things that we've talked about, this time focused in on Bandera Road, which is kind of left to right in the image here. So you can see a transit stop on the upper right, keeping in mind how important it is to link those directly to sidewalks and to place them near major developments. You can also see separated bike lane and pedestrian treatments. So Bandera is a pretty tough environment for walkers and bikers right now, but that's fixable. Bandera is now, and it always will be, a pretty wide right-of-way, and having mid-crossing refuges like you see here makes that crossing much easier and safer. There are also strategies that we can use to improve safety for people walking and biking. One is a raised crossing, which you can see in the upper left here, right here. With these, people walking or riding bikes don't have to go down curbs to cross a drive and then back up again. Instead, the drive itself goes up and over. These are also called speed tables, but where we put these is very important. They're never used in high traffic areas, not on Bandera and not on any of the intersecting streets. Instead, they're in developments. That's places where cars are moving slowly and where there are a lot of people walking. Part of what we'll do in the plan is to make recommendations about what standards should be like for developments along Bandera Road. So this is a sampling of several different development features that have come up in previous meetings. What you see here is a mixed-use development. So it includes housing, retail, and office space, potentially even some light industrial uses. It's located near a greenway, which you can see on the right side there. And more importantly, it connects directly to the greenway and enhances it with internal semi-public spaces. So this is what we call a trail-oriented development, right? It's kind of oriented around the trails along the greenway. It does the same thing with a transit stop, which you can see there in the orange. That's well connected into the development with walkways. You can also see a shared use path along the roadway itself. Another important feature that we have incorporated is breaking up large parking lots into smaller ones. We've talked about this in previous presentations at previous public meetings. We need to make sure that no more parking is included in developments than is really needed. And that includes encouraging developments of different types to share parking when feasible. You can also see a stormwater detention feature kind of in the bottom right there. That's used to beautify the site. I expect that many of you have noticed how recent developments have included concrete basins or other depressed areas. Those are code required, and they're used to temporarily hold stormwater when we get a lot of rain. It helps control flooding. Instead of a concrete basin, though, they can be designed as either year-round small ponds or as attractive planting areas. They can add a lot to developments, especially like you see here when they're located adjacent to greenways and parks, and they can be very helpful in achieving the goal of making the corridor more attractive. So I mentioned semi-public space in the previous slide. Let's talk about that a little bit. One thing that we always work hard to convey in planning is that how developments incorporate spaces is no less important than the buildings. In fact, really the spaces are the predominant factor in how you experience and feel about a development. So we've got three different types of space you can see here. First is public space. Those are the multi-use paths along the corridor, the roadway itself, the transit stop. All of those connect to other developments as well as to neighborhoods. Second is a really important category. That is semi-public space. So this is a space which sits on privately owned land, but it's commonly used by the public. Some examples of this, places at the Pearl, places at shopping malls, inside shopping malls, that's semi-public space, or similar developments like that. Even parking lots at strip centers are, technically speaking, semi-public space. But the quality of it is very important. We'd love to see more semi-public space like you see in this image, that's centered around green space rather than paved. The last is private space. So that's also on private land, just like semi-public is. But it's exclusively for the use of people who live or work at the development. So we've heard a lot about desires for aesthetic improvements to the corridor, and that's one of the goals that we talked about earlier. So you can also see aesthetic improvements to the corridor here. Buildings are brought pretty close to the edge of the right-of-way, and the edges are planted. Semi-public space adjoins the right-of-way, and it is well planted and bordered by neighboring buildings to create more interesting spaces. So our next steps in the plan are to determine an approach to the overall strategy for how land use might change. We first need to consider the type of development patterns desired for the corridor in the future. And we've considered two different patterns. The first is what we're calling a node approach, and the second is a linear development approach. And we're going to be working in the next couple of months to get public feedback on these and to decide on a direction. So let's talk about node development. I know node is a word that you probably haven't heard since high school geometry, but basically what this means is that future development will focus at the intersections of Bandera Road with both the intersecting streets and potentially with greenways as well. So this strategy is a good way to connect the corridor to what's around it, because that node, that point where things come together, is a linkage between the corridor and the neighborhoods. So it generates opportunities for development that are not only just along the corridor in a narrow strip, like you'll see in the next option, but also extends along significant cross streets and potentially along greenways. So in this image, you can see several different mixed-use development types in the red with residential in yellow. The low-density residential you can see kind of in the middle background here. That could be any of the neighborhoods along the corridor, single-family homes. And one thing that I want to emphasize here, it's a very important consideration, is that making sure that the density close to existing neighborhoods is appropriate is really important. So in both of these options that I'll show you, we think it makes sense to keep low densities next to neighborhoods, with medium densities only in areas where they're separated from neighborhoods by another low density use. And really nowhere along here do we have anything that I would term high density. So please also note this bus stop here. Like we've talked about in several different slides, having these medium density developments designed around transit will let people who want to ride transit do so, which can reduce traffic. So where would these nodes happen? That's really dependent on what we hear in our public sessions, but obviously major intersections are the most obvious places. So 1604 and 410, clearly. But there are several other spots like Prue Road, French Creek, and Leon Creek that all make sense in different ways. What's particularly exciting, I would say, about French and Leon is that any development there could be a trail-oriented development. So it could be a mix of shopping, restaurants, and housing, all of which could connect to the greenways. So going on to the next option here, this is our second concept, and that's the linear approach. So if you think about nodes as focusing on specific intersections, think of linear as spreading development out along the corridor. And that's really pretty similar to what you see on Bandera now, but the type of land uses could be a lot different from what you see now. There are still opportunities to incorporate cross connections with this linear concept into adjacent neighborhoods, but the development itself would be more focused on the corridor because opportunity areas are focused mostly on the parcels that front Bandera Road. So in this concept, the intensity of use would not be the same along the entirety of the corridor. Due to existing conditions on the road, along the road, some stretches are more suited to redevelopment than others are. One benefit to this approach is the ability to connect existing commercial centers, building them up a little bit in density as well in how developments connect to one another. Just as with the node option, relationships of density between neighborhoods and higher intensity land uses along Bandera would stay similar to what they are now. The overall character of those relationships would be a little bit different. It's likely in order to keep more intense developments away from neighborhoods. We would need to make medium density land uses along Bandera Road shallower in depth than the node option, because the node option just has more area to work with. But overall, there would not be a significant difference between these two. In this option, it's likely that things would pretty much be the same as they are now at 410 and 1604, except with more mixed use. But in between, there's more of a continuous, even pattern of development along the corridor than in the node concept, which, because it places focus on the intersections, tends to be more dense at certain points and less dense at other points. Some of the things that we talked about in that node concept could still happen, like, for example, the trail-focused developments at French Creek, but in a simpler way that really focuses things back in on Bandera. So, Josh, did you want to handle the stay in touch here, or should I?
Thank you, Jay. No, we just wanted to let everyone know that there are a few ways you can get in touch with us. You can follow the plan and updates, as well as review some of the work that's been done to date at www.sanantonio.gov/planning. The first banner on our website will take you directly to the Bandera Road webpage. We're also developing a frequently asked questions document, which will be available on our project website very shortly. We also have a SurveyMonkey, which can be found at this link here, www.surveymonkey.com/r/Bandera-RD. Feel free to share that. Let us know what neighborhood you're coming from, especially if you're in Leon Valley. And if you have any questions or would like to discuss the plan further with us, you can contact me at either my email address, joshua.jasky@sanantonio.gov, or my direct line at 210-207-0255. And I think that's just about it for us.
Just to follow up, Josh, are y'all still planning the virtual meetings to get public input?
Yes, ma'am. So we are planning a series of virtual meetings within the city of San Antonio, and these virtual meetings will be identical in nature. We're currently looking at 4 dates at the end of March. So it's looking like the very last week of March, very first week of April will be, but we're still working to identify those dates. As you know, those dates were originally set for last month, or this month, my apologies, but due to the extreme weather event that we experienced, we felt the need to postpone it to give the community time to have the stable connections and everything needed to actively participate. Because like I said, this process has been community driven since day one. So in able to maintain that robust community engagement, we thought it would just give us some more time to include more folks. So yes, ma'am, we will certainly be sending out another postcard to the same addresses, as well as posting all of that information on our website at the very top of the screen here, www.sanantonio.gov/planning. And of course, any resident is free to contact me, and I'd be happy to direct them to that information as well.
And so this meeting includes the City of Leon Valley and citizens in District 7, 6, and 8, partially? 6 and 8?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the project area traverses San Antonio District 8, District 7, the City of Leon Valley, and District 6.
Excellent, thank you. Really appreciate it. So a lot's been happening, and so I would encourage you, when you get the updated information from the City of San Antonio, to log on virtually. There's going to be 4 meeting dates, and we want to hear from you. So that's great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And
thank you, Mayor.
We're going to go ahead and hear from Linda Vela. I don't know if you can, if there's going to be any questions at the end of Linda's, but anyway, we thank you so much for participating today. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. They've worked very, very hard on this. We've come a long way. All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. So Linda Vela from TxDOT. Linda, good afternoon, good morning, and welcome. And you're going to also give TxDOT's perspective on where we've been and where we're going. Thank you.
I sure am, and I don't think I'm able to share my screen, but I know you have my slides, so I'm hoping that maybe someone can share them for me.
Now that I don't know. Let's see.
Oh, look, I think I just got the, the ability.
Okay, you've got it. Yeah, I've got a thumbs up over here, so we should be able to see your screen. Linda, thank you. And welcome.
Here, we'll pull it up.
All right. Technology, it's a new normal, right?
That's right. Okay, so you should be able to see that right now.
We got it.
Get into presentation mode here. Okay, so can everyone see that there?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Wonderful. All right, well, thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here today representing TxDOT. As was mentioned, my name is Linda Bella, and I'm with the firm Posnecki and Camarillo. We are one of the engineering firms hired by the Texas Department of Transportation to assist them with this. And we are currently studying Bandera Road, or SH16, from Loop 1604 to Loop 410, as you heard. And we're really appreciative to have this opportunity to be here to talk with you today. As you might recall, and it's been mentioned, it's been a while since our last public meeting. It was held in December of 2019. And we are currently in the process of planning another, this time virtual public meeting in early spring to come back and get some additional input from the community. And I'm here just to kind of share some of what work has been happening since the last time we met, and then also just kind of talk a little bit more about what you can expect to see at that virtual public meeting. So before I get into that, I'm going to cover the study limits. You heard Josh and Jay both talk about how we have these two parallel studies happening at the same time. They do go cover all of SH16 Bandera Road, from Loop 1604 to I-410 in the cities of Leon Valley and San Antonio, and also, of course, in Bexar County. So there's a lot of different local government entity partners that TxDOT is working with on this. We know this stretch of roadway has been studied several times before and without a solution, but we're hopeful that some of the recent advances in traffic analysis, the availability of new data resources, thanks to Bluetooth technology advances, and then also the continued conversation with the community is going to help us identify some solutions to make the corridor more multimodal, more connected, as you heard Jay talk about, and then provide some much needed congestion relief for people that live in this area. So just kind of moving along, everyone should have, I'm hoping if you're there in person, you should have received this handout. If you didn't receive one, I know that Mayor Riley has and Crystal have an electronic version, so I'm sure that they will be making that available online for you. But we wanted to provide this. On it, really, you can learn more about the study and the various committees and groups we've been working with. TxDOT and the City of Leon Valley and San Antonio have really been doing a great job of getting folks involved. The groups that have been helping us with the majority of the heavy lifting this past year have been the technical work group, which is made up of local transportation experts from various agencies, and then our planning team, which is made up of major businesses, neighborhood associations, and other community groups along the corridor. As you heard the mayor mention, given COVID-19 restrictions on gatherings, these groups were both invited to participate in virtual workshops that were held to continue coordinating and developing the potential improvement concepts for SH16 Bandera Road. And by those, I mean the transportation improvement concepts. Both meetings, we held 2 concepts workshops with those groups, and both of them were held online, but they did include some interactive polling, kind of what you've seen today with Mentimeter. And then also at our second concepts workshop, we were able to have small group discussions with the use of Zoom and really break out into some smaller groups and talk more about the corridor. So you can read more about that on this update here. But really the conversation has been about, what types of improvements make sense for the entire corridor. And 2 that have come up and have been talked about a lot are the boulevard concept, which you heard Mayor Riley reference, and then also a parkway concept. On the back of this fact sheet here, you can see that you'll see a timeline of all the outreach that occurred in 2020. So you'll note that even though we did take a little bit of a slowdown with COVID-19, things kept moving forward. We did our best to keep things moving forward. Over half of the meetings that were held in 2020 were conducted virtually online. We also, though, were able to hold a business forum in the spring of 2020 to receive feedback from local businesses, and that was held at City Church. We offered 2 different times where people could come by and talk to us, and we had some really good response to that. We also had several of our elected officials there present so that they could hear that response firsthand. And then we held additional meetings with our Bandera Road Task Force. And this is a group of state and local elected officials, local agencies and city representatives. Mayor Riley co-chairs that with Councilwoman Anna Sandoval, and they've been a tremendous help in overseeing the entire process to make sure that we are incorporating that community input along the way. On the top right here of this handout, I want to make note that if you really want to get up to date on everything that's been happening, we're trying to be as transparent as possible. So you will see a list of all the documents that are available for you to go to www.textdot.gov, keyword search SH16 Bandera Road. We have several informational videos that show some of the data and analysis that's been done. We also have meeting summaries for all of those technical working group meetings and the planning team meetings, as well as those concepts workshops. So a lot of conversations took place. If you really kind of want to get a better feel for what's happened since then, I highly encourage you to review those plans online, or if you'd like to get a copy of those sent to you, you can always call us as well. A couple of other things here, moving along to the bottom. Well, first let me just kind of cover our timeline. In terms of our schedule, I already mentioned that our plan is to come back to the public in the spring of this year with the second round of public meetings, this time virtually. And again, that's primarily to comply with health guidelines related to COVID-19. Those have changed for our state recently, but locally we're still kind of following TxDOT's statewide mandates, and as of right now they are still calling for mask wearing and for social distancing. So until that changes at the TxDOT level, we'll continue moving forward with virtual public meetings. And then our team is going to spend the summer working with our various committees to incorporate the public comments that come out of that public meeting. So what you can expect to see at this round of public meetings is really those concepts that were developed in collaboration with the planning team and the technical working group last year. After that, we'll come back with a third round of public meetings this fall. And that's where you're really going to start seeing specific intersection and roadway improvement options. So at this next public meeting, we're going to be talking about concepts for the overall corridor. And again, these are high-level concepts. You have different options for the boulevard. You have a parkway option and some other things that we'll ask you to consider. But in the fall, you'll start to see specific intersection and roadway concepts for your consideration. And our hope is that by then we will be able to meet in person. And we want to be able to make a determination as that time draws nearer. So the next 2 years after that, and I know this seems like a rather long timeline, but the next 2 years after that will be spent identifying the preferred option for SH16 Bandera Road. So what do I mean by that? After the third public meeting, we should have a concept that's moving forward. But once we've identified that, we're going to take that into the schematic design and environmental clearance process, which again will take approximately 2 years. And that's where it's going to be compared to what we call a no-build option, or what happens if we do nothing. So that's a requirement. Again, this corridor is eligible to receive federal funding. It is currently receiving federal funding. So in order to get that federal funding, there's certain guidelines that we have to follow. And that, again, is taking it through that environmental clearance process. So by the end of this year, we'll have a build, what we call a build concept that will move forward. And over the next 2 years, we're going to compare that to what happens if we do nothing at all. Again, this will all be done with community input and in collaboration with our various committees. Mayor Riley is going to be deeply involved with all of that, as she has been from the very beginning. So if you ever have any questions, you know, she's a great resource, but so are we, and we're here to help with that. So with that, I just wanted to point out that last piece on that handout is the different ways that you can get a hold of us. And so you see here, there's the website for TxDOT, but then you can also email us with any questions, or if you want to get added to our email list to make sure you get that invitation for the upcoming virtual public meeting. That email is banderaroad@pozcam.com. That email will come directly to me, and I'll make sure that we get you added to that mailing list and that we keep you involved throughout the process. But with that, again, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. I highly encourage you to get involved in that virtual public meeting. That's where you'll be able to ask questions of our engineers and of TxDOT. We'll certainly be reaching out to the City of Leon Valley for their help in getting information about that virtual public meeting out to everyone in the community. And again, I do highly encourage you to sign up to receive our study updates, because we do try and stay in touch with people that are on that email list. So with that, that's all I have for today, Mayor Riley.
Thank you so much, Linda. So just so I understand, so by the end of this year, we should have an option going forward and compare it against a no build.
Correct.
Okay.
Mayor.
So
that is the goal.
We're getting there.
The
It's just taking a long time. Yes, but thank you. Really, really appreciate it. We are on a strict timeline, so Mr. Milan, do you want to? I was just thinking we're at one more minute. I was going to offer either, if we had some time, the rest of this town hall meeting, you could give the Leon Valley update then, or we could do it at the March 9th meeting, just to stay on time. Would that be okay? Thank you. Our zoning director will give the update on what Leon Valley's been doing, but at a later time, either today or on Tuesday at the city council meeting. So Linda, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and thanks to the City of San Antonio team, Josh and Jay. Thank you again. Let's give them a round of applause. I think that's a lot. I always call that a cognitive overload. You know, we've got a lot of information, but we will work through it and come up with the preferred option together. So thank you. And hopefully this is a model on how to work together in the community on how to address a major, major corridor improvement. So thank you. So, Dr. Edwards, you're next. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, the next topic is future community events and connecting with us, and Ms. Mendoza is going to go over the options for this situation. Thank you.
Yes. Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Maribel Mendoza, and I'm the Special Events Coordinator for the city. Let's see. Perfect. So the purpose of this presentation is to receive direction from City Council and, of course, the citizens on whether or not to hold special events this year, such as our Soapbox Derby, Movies in the Park, and the 4th of July. So the decision does affect health and safety of staffing and the citizens, of course, and budget due to the current pandemic. And again, note all future event costs are to increase approximately 50% due to the increase of sanitation measures that we have to have at these public events. So just a couple of COVID numbers. So on March 2nd, Governor Greg Abbott did issue an executive order to lift the mask mandate and open Texas 100% beginning March 10th. Their county positivity rate as of the 1st is at 5.6%. And due to the decrease, local officials have a COVID-19 risk level to mid-risk level. So I know you can see them, I think you have the PowerPoints, but the City of Leon Valley, here are some of the canceled and postponed events within the city and around our community. So the City of Leon Valley Earthwise Living Day, I believe the mayor mentioned that will be held virtual with a drive-through tree giveaway. That's going to be on March 27th, I believe. And they're also doing a poster contest throughout the whole month. The City of San Antonio did cancel Battle of the Flowers, the Big Red, and Barbacoa Festival. They postponed Fiesta until June 17th. And the San Antonio Stock and Rodeo Festival, I believe, was canceled. I know the show still went on. Special Olympic Summer Games was canceled, and Oyster Break St. Mary's was canceled this year. So just a little more detail about our movies in the park. We typically hold 4 family-friendly movies in a year, and they're held the first or the last month of a Friday. The months do vary. The 2020 cost, of course, we didn't have one since we did have to cancel it due to the pandemic. Our 2019 estimated cost was around $2,000, and it does not include any overtime. So each movie is cost around $500, and that's essentially the license of the movie to give us permission to show the movie to the public. So here are some movie in the park alternatives that we can do if we decide not to go with our original movies in the park. We can do a drive-in setup that would essentially be residents only due to the limited capacity that we have. We would host it at the Raymond Rimkus large parking lot, and the capacity for that is about 30 vehicles. So we would restrict it to residents only due to the capacity limitation we do have. We can show the movie on the park grounds. So we space out sections to adhere to social distancing guidelines. And this definitely allows more people to attend, so we don't have to restrict it to residents only. Or we can cancel the event. 4th of July event, so our budgeted amount was, for this year, $65,700. I'm gonna move over here just a little bit. $67,500, okay, maybe not. And this does not include any sponsorship funds. Our 2020 fireworks credit, we have a credit for fireworks and we have a credit for our carnival rides. Due to the cancellation of last year, we did give a deposit down, but they were gracious enough to let us have a credit for this year's event if we decide to host it. So our 2020 cost, again, 0 because we have to cancel it. Our 29,000 cost was about 84,000. Our 2018 cost was roughly 86,000, and our 2017 cost was roughly around 102,000. So these are more of a detail as far as our budget goes for the 4th of July. So again, we did budget $67,500. Our sponsorship funds usually estimate around $40,000, and that's throughout the whole business in the community. Again, like I mentioned, we do have a fireworks credit and a carnival ride credit. Again, we did have to give a deposit down last year just in case we did host the event, but the vendors were gracious enough to give us the credit back for this year if we use the same vendors. Our park setup and staging estimated for this year is going to be roughly around $40,000 as to something very similar to our 2019 costs. Now, the park setup and staging include barricades, cones, portable restrooms, the fencing, light towers, and the stage that we use. Advertisement and signage is around $6,000 for this year, again, very similar to last year. This includes our radio advertisement, our flyers, our postcards, and the street banners we put around the city. Entertainment cost is $38,500 compared to 2019. There is about a $20,000 difference, and the reason for that main increase for this year is, if y'all remember, 2018 we had a rain out. So we had a major credit that we were able to use for the following year, which was in 2019, which is why the price is so different. We do have a credit this year again for our carnival rides and the fireworks, but it's not the full amount as we would in the past. And that's why we see that big increase this year of $38,000. Miscellaneous is around $4,800. That's our tents, our trophies for the parade winners, the shuttles, and the dispatchers we use for the event. And our overtime is $16,000. I think last year or the year before we were at $13,900 compared to what we're planning to use this year. And there's about in total for this year, estimated budget is $105,800, and about a $21,000 difference compared to our 2019 costs. So we do have some 4th of July event alternatives. We can have a parade and fireworks display, and we can live stream it. We can have high altitude fireworks and also live stream it. The main difference between your fireworks on the first section or the first alternative versus the second one is these high altitude fireworks are something similar to Fiesta Texas fireworks. So they're definitely more of a commercial grade, a lot higher. You wouldn't have to be near or around Raymond Rimkus to see them. You can definitely be within your home and see these fireworks. and they are a little bit more expensive. So there's about a $20,000 to $25,000 difference compared to the fireworks we usually have at our 4th of July. Or we can do block parties and evening fireworks. So the block parties would be something very similar to our National Night Out. Our residents can register to have a block party. We can have our first responders, our city council, our mayor pass by, give out goodies, pass out COVID safe goodies, of course, prizes for best decorated homes. We can live stream the fireworks, but there wouldn't be a parade or no festival. Or we can cancel all 4th of July activities. So we also have our soapbox derby event. So our 2021 budget for that is $28,000. Our 2020 cost, of course, we didn't have one since we did have to cancel it last year since the pandemic. And our 2019 cost was roughly around $29,000. And this is usually held on Saturday in October. I know from previous years we've held, I believe, the last Saturday in October. Last year it was supposed to be Halloween, but of course since the pandemic did not happen. So some soapbox derby alternatives, we can do host the event with limited drivers. We typically have between 16 and 20 derby cars. I know about 2 years ago, I believe we wanted to increase how many cars or drivers we wanted to have. We were about to increase it about to 24 to 25 drivers. So we can limit the drivers to about 10 or 12, no vendors, and we can definitely live stream it. Or we can host the Halloween trick or treat event in lieu of the derby, just like we did last year. Or we can just cancel the event. So that is the end of my presentation. I know we do have some questions coming up.
Councilmember Hefner will be here to help guide us through these questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Maribel. So there's a poll up now for this particular topic. There's a couple of questions. There's one topic that's in general, how should the city approach handling these types of community events? Should we, as a city, pay for them? Should we engage, private event planners to do these kinds of events? Should we do some sort of public-private partnership? And then we'll get into some additional questions around each specific event. So just thumbs up, thumbs down when you're done responding to that first question. Good to go? All right. All right, so for Movies in Park, the couple of options that were presented were host the event on park grounds, picnic style. This is what we've done in the past pre-COVID. The second option is to host the event as a drive-in, where we would basically cordon off the parking lot around, like the main parking lot for Rimkus Park. The third is to cancel the event. Fourth is other. And we'll be glad to talk to you if your answer's other. I'd love to hear additional ideas. I'm sure Maribel would as well. Yes, ma'am.
How many people generally attend the movies in the park?
So the question is, how do people typically attend the movies in the park? Oh, how many?
Yeah.
Between 20 and 50 has been the historical amount. All right, thumbs up. Good to go? All right. The next one is 4th of July. So the options here are host the parade and the fireworks display. So think of this just as, the historical event that we would typically do. Vendors and things like that in the park area. The next one would be a high altitude fireworks show with a live stream. The third would be block parties similar to National Night Out, cancel or other. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Are the high altitude fireworks a lot more expensive than the standard fireworks?
Yes, they are.
They are. And can they be seen from like your front, most people's front yard in Leon Valley?
Right. So they'd be about $20,000 more, is what I'm hearing, and yes, they'd be able to be seen from most people's yards in the area. I'm sorry. Yes.
What fireworks have we had in the past? Because we usually could see them from our house. At least we've been able to for the last several years.
So the question was, what type of fireworks have we used in the past? If you are around the area of the park, I think Ms. Bolton, you live in like nearby the park, you'd be able to see those. I think the high altitude would be able to be seen more broadly around the entire community as well. Any other questions? Good to move forward from this question? Great, thank you. All right, for the Soapbox Derby, the first option is host Soapbox Derby as in full as in prior years. The second option is host with limited drivers, limit to 10 to 12 drivers. The third is to host an option for a Halloween trunk or treat in lieu of the Soapbox Derby, cancel the event or other.
So just a little bit about what the Halloween trunk or treat is. Some of you may remember last year we had vendors, businesses park here right behind this parking lot, park with their trunk facing towards the middle lane, and we had cars come by and we gave out treats. Everyone wore masks, everyone wore gloves, and businesses loved it. They passed out little bags of goodies. Some were able to pass out some coupons and stuff that would help the community. Oh, and a lot of kids did dress up. That was the main goal for the kiddos, to dress up.
My kids ended up with 14 pounds of candy. I weighed it. Yes, ma'am.
Maribel, is it one or the other? You couldn't do both?
One or the other, or you couldn't do both?
We definitely could do both. If we do Soapbox Derby and the Halloween trunk or treat, obviously it wouldn't be the last Saturday, since the trunk or treat would probably be the last Saturday of the month. But we can definitely try.
Right. Yeah, so I think that's kind of the first question was more, general direction of how we should go about spending taxpayer funds for these kinds of events and what the priorities are. So maybe at a future conversation, we could put a poll out that said, like, let's list several different events and then prioritize them for cost and things like that. All right, good to go on the next question? Good, okay. All right, so this last question is a free text question. You can enter whatever you like. Any additional comments or questions for your city council, for your staff? We work for you. So if you have questions, please feel free to put those in here. And we would love to hear your feedback. This is the last topic of the day, I believe. We have some time for citizens to be heard. But if you have something that, let's say you can't stay around for citizens to be heard, you want to put it in here, feel free to put it in here. And this is just another avenue, another route for you to engage with your council and your staff. Thank you all for being here today. Oh, and I'm sorry, one other thing. As you finish this last question, once you submit it, there will be a button that you can click that will say, send me the results, and it'll be an option for you to enter your email address again so that we can send you the results of today's polling and questions and things like that, if you're interested.
Is Mr. Milan around? We do have, yes, we have time. So you can give your presentation, because we have till 12:35 for citizens to be heard. That's what I was hoping for, that we had a little bit of flexibility here. And again, we are going to have a debriefing at the March 9th City Council meeting. Hopefully we'll have all these results, and if there's any other questions or follow-up, we'll certainly address it from the town hall meeting perspective on Tuesday. So without further ado, let me ask Brandon Milan, our zoning director, to please come forward and give you our Leon Valley's participation in the Bandera Road redevelopment corridor. Thank you.
Mayor, thank you. Thank you everybody for being here today. This is a lot of fun. About 3 years ago, I was on a lunch break and I heard a segment on Texas Public Radio. I think you were on that segment, Mayor, they were talking about Bandera Road, and so as an urban designer, I was just hooked. I was really interested, especially something as exciting like this in our community. So when the job for planning director came up, jumped on it. I'm really happy to be here and have a blast working on the Bandera Road study so far. So we heard earlier about the efforts of San Antonio with their corridor study and TxDOT, and we're so fortunate that we have those resources there too, and we're going to continue to collaborate with them. So, but definitely, I'm sure y'all want to know, what kind of efforts has the city of Leon Valley been working on its own over the past several years. So when I first got here, I was really excited to see that the mayor and council had commissioned a study with UTSA to look at different options and also get a better idea of what are the economic impacts of different kinds of options. And so it was a great study. I think you can see it in your packet there. The study looked at two things. First, like what's the potential economic analysis or economic impacts, particularly looking at a flyover option. That was something that was being floated. Definitely a lot of citizens of the community had concerns and still have concerns about such an idea. And this study also looked at 3 different design alternatives. One, a potential no-build option. So what does a no-build option look like if we just leave it the way it is? And they looked at the flyover option, and it looked at the boulevard option, which the overall study, the Bandera Road working group, is still definitely looking at. It's a fantastic idea. So in terms of the economics, the conclusion from that study was, the TSA study, was that construction of an elevated highway in Leon Valley would in fact impede future economic development and lower property tax and tax revenues by establishing an effective barrier through the center of the city. So it was understood this could physically, economically, socially, a flyover could create a big wall right through the middle of Leon Valley. And as we've seen, that's, when the freeway system was being developed back in the 50s and 60s, that happened to a lot of communities. And once that happens, it's really hard to go back and really blend that infrastructure into the community. Again, also, so the study looked at 3 different options. Like I said, a no-build option, a boulevard option, and a flyover option. And so in your packet, the study stated, first off, that Leon Valley needs to be an advocate for the option which would best serve the needs of the community. So, we have a large working group going involving City of San Antonio via different stakeholders. But at the end of the day, the citizens of Leon Valley, you're here today, continue to be a part of this. Y'all need to always be looking at what's the option that's best for Leon Valley. Bandera Road's a long segment, and there's lots of different design alternatives for that segment. So being an advocate for what's best for this community in terms of the segment that Bandera Road has is really critical moving forward. So, I can't put that through from the screen, but the first option that they looked at was looking at the no-build option. And so, let me see if I can find that here. So yeah, no or minimal change option. So what the UTSA study advised regarding a no or minimal change option was that choosing to leave Bandera Road as it was would almost certainly further increase the congestion experience, making the road more difficult to use during high traffic periods. So leaving it as it is, we've got a lot of traffic on Bandera Road and growth is not stopping. We've got Alamo Ranch and Helotes. Helotes is continuing to grow. Leon Valley is, we're still seeing new development, so leaving it as it is definitely going to create issues long term. And there's only so much capacity on that road with our built environment the way it is, and it's continuing to grow right now. Next, this study looked at Explore Boulevard option. So this is a really exciting option that we heard a little bit about earlier, and we're going to continue to talk about. The study showed that a boulevard option could provide a certain level of congestion relief through the expansion of lanes and provision of separated access roads on either side of a main boulevard. And by doing this, by providing a separate route for traffic seeking to turn into stores and into our businesses and into our neighborhoods, as opposed to people that are maybe wanting to get through Leon Valley, the study showed that the main boulevard could focus on providing service for travelers navigating their way to further destinations while allowing for higher speeds and less congestion. And that this option would also benefit the businesses along the road making the navigation to these locations safer for drivers and pedestrians. So that's kind of an issue that we have, is people are speeding through Leon Valley. I think previous studies showed 7% of the trips on Bandera Road are local. The other 93% are people trying to get home or get to work. And so it's not easy to stop off, and that's not good for our businesses. We need a boulevard that supports everybody, just like complete streets, a boulevard that works for everybody and supports our businesses. And then lastly, the study talked about the flyover option. Yeah. And so, let me get to that page here again. So the flyover option. So what did the study say about the flyover option? It talked about the experience that a lot of U.S. cities have had with elevated freeways, and so nearly every American city. I'm just reading this verbatim out of the study. Nearly every American city has examples of neighborhoods that were degraded or destroyed during the construction of highway overpasses during urban renewal periods. And the study also showed that drivers are much less likely to stop at businesses that they would have to exit a flyover for. Why get off the freeway, risk having more congestion down below? This leads to many businesses directly adjacent to an elevated highway to close. The result of this could be a reduction in Leon Valley's tax base, as fewer businesses succeed in this environment, and the diminishing of Leon Valley's unique business culture. So the study went on a little bit more to talk about the experience of freeways in the United States. There are cities all over the country that are getting rid of their elevated freeways. I worked in Oklahoma City. They completely got rid of them, and they're restoring their grid. And it's just doing tremendous things for their downtown. In Austin, they're looking at trying to have other options with I-35, because that's a huge barrier between downtown and the east side of Austin. Also in Dallas, they're looking at getting rid of segments. So American cities are looking at getting rid of their elevated freeways, not adding them. So really exciting stuff that City of Leon Valley has already done. We're not done. We're going to continue collaborating with City of San Antonio. Also here locally, something to stay tuned for. We're looking at updating our comprehensive master plan. Staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council have been talking about this over the past year. And so in a comprehensive master plan, you look at things like this. City of San Antonio is doing a corridor plan. We'll be doing similar planning options in that comprehensive master plan if we choose to move forward with that at this time. So more on that here in a successive City Council meeting. We'll be talking about that. So thank you all very much, and look forward to working with you guys on Bandera Road.
We do want a unified Bandera Road from 410 to 1604 for sure. So we're going to try to implement all of these ideas along the corridor at each intersection and whatnot whenever we get there. So thank you, Brandon, for your help. Okay, Councilor Hefner wanted to update you on the latest results.
Yep, so we got a lot of responses in, and as you can see, they're, sorry. As you can see, okay. So, several people saying thank you, great job to all. Thank you, city staff. Keep up the good work, keeping us safe. There was a question, is there a method for residents without a technology apparatus or comfort to be able to answer the survey? There is, so we have a couple of different options. We've got a couple of laptops over here that if you want to sit down with city staff and you're here today, and we can take your answers and respond to them as well. I've talked with Crystal. We're going to have a couple of kiosks in City Hall that have the city's website up. If you want to come by City Hall and they can sit with city staff, they can help collect your answers. After this meeting is over, the poll will be opened up and it will still be live for another few days. You'll also be able to see it on the city's Facebook feed and our website, and that'll be another avenue. If you don't feel comfortable with that, feel free to give me a call, give one of our fellow councilors a call, give any of our city staff a call, and if you want to talk through the survey online, I'm sure any one of them would be happy to enter responses on your behalf. There's a question on Soapbox Derby and Trunk or Treat should both be held. Opposed to trashing home. So this is somewhat citizens have you heard as well, just kind of echoing the sentiment that's being out. Oh, and my laptop just died. That's great timing. But we'll get those comments updated as well, and make sure to get with Sandra and get those entered into the record as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I just reiterate, all of the mayor and council are available to help in any way, so please don't hesitate to call. Yes, Councilor, and we'll go to Citizens to be Heard next. And this is our last segment of the town hall meeting. Thank y'all so much for being here and for your participation, greatly appreciated. So we have Mr. Martinez to speak next.
Hello, Benny Martinez. I've been very active in the city for several years now, but one of the items that I've been very active in is in it used to be the Leon Valley Area Chamber of Commerce. A couple years ago, we renamed it to the Northwest San Antonio Chamber of Commerce. We would basically cover from I-10 to 151 and, the loop to 1604. But in the past few years, there's been kind of a breakdown in the communication between the city and the chamber. We would like to reestablish a working relationship with the city and start fostering goodwill between us. And, the chamber is there to promote the city. And one of the events that, that's just going to happen, the chamber is going to have a ribbon cutting for a new restaurant, or a new business called Chica's Boutique. And that's next Friday, March 12th from 6 to 7:30. And I believe they're on, see if I can scroll up, get the address. They're on Bandera. Come on. 6915 Bandera. So everybody is welcome to come to that. And let's start working towards with the chamber and the city working together. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Martinez. Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Boland.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank everyone who's come out today. I know the weather has been strange today, and with COVID regulations, it made participation here in person a little strained. But, throughout today, I've been listening to all the presentations, all the details, and some of the questions from the community, and it really means that it requires citizen input, and a lot of the ways citizens have a say in how the city is run is through our boards and commissions. And I know Kathy Hill was here with the Historical Society, trying to dredge up the support and the volunteer pool, which I myself will be on as soon as I send her an email. But, with the city needing to get people on boards, I want to see a city not just say we're here for y'all, we're here to do these projects. We need input and not allow such input. So the one thing I'd like to see, two things I'd like to see is that, within the next week, we get the citizens who applied to be on boards they've requested, and get through their ethics training that is required for everyone who is appointed, hired, or an elected official. Just so that way we understand what we need to do and how we need to operate ourselves in a professional way. Thank you.
I'm not sure if 1 week is realistic, but we'll try to do our best to speed up that process. Thank you. All right, anyone else? Any closing comments from any of the council members? Oh, I have one email to read. Okay, this is from Linda Bransill. Just says Leon Valley. Thank you. Several times I have asked about the case of John Gray. It seems to be false because there is no paperwork about it. Can the interim police chief please confirm that John Gray can collect his illegally held equipment and that he is no longer trespassed? Sincerely, yours sincerely, Linda Bransell, Lehigh Valley. So we'll send that. Thank you. And my colleagues, anyone have final comments? Crystal, you have final comment? I just wanted to say thank you again for being here and for participating. And I don't know if I thank the Northwest Funeral Home for the tents. They graciously donated that free of charge, and I really appreciate it. And Sandra gave me these deadlines for the election, and I wanted to share those with you, that April 1st is the last day to register to vote in the May 1st general election in Lehigh Valley. We have place 1, 3, and 5 up for election. And then the last day to apply for a mail-in ballot is April 20th. So just wanted to give you that information before we left today. All right, anything else from the council? Anybody?
Thank you for all coming.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Anything else?
Giving up your Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. We try to just take a half of it, and so that we can give you the other half to go do your laundry and go to the grocery store, whatever else you need to do. So if there's no further, yes, Councilor Bradshaw.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what Councilor Hefner was saying. Thank you all for coming, and those that are watching online. We really do appreciate the citizen involvement, and I know I don't like when people speak on my behalf, but I'm going to do it anyways for the rest of the council and say that our door is always open in a sense. We're open to receiving emails or phone calls or text messages, and that's what we're here to do, is to listen to the citizens. So we do really appreciate the feedback and input. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great way to end. And again, thanks to the staff for helping us put all this together. It's a team effort. And I thought the technology worked beautifully. So thank you to Mark and all of the staff. Let's give them a round of applause. It was really well. So we know that we can do this again, right? Okay. Thank you all very much. And if there's no further comments or questions, we move to adjourn the 11th annual town hall meeting at approximately 12:42 on Saturday, March 6, 2020. We stand in recess, or stand adjourned, and we hope to see you at the next council meeting, which is Tuesday, March 9th at 6 o'clock. Thank you all very much. Have a good, wonderful weekend and the rest of your Saturday. Take care.
Yeah.